Delaware Valley's leading news program with Rick Williams.
Tropical Storm Ophelia is churning up the surf along the Atlantic coast, battering the shore towns of South Jersey. The center of this cyclone is set to collide with the Carolinas, but the impacts of this system will mean terrible weather for our area this weekend and heavy rain and strong winds. Friday night, I'm Shari Williams. Rick is off. The big story on Action News tonight is an AccuWeather alert. Tropical Storm Ophelia will bring some pretty messy weather to our region, making for a weekend washout. We have team coverage of the impact of this storm. Action News reporter Brianna Smith is at the shore, which is going to see the worst of it. But let's begin with meteorologist Adam Joseph, who's tracking the storm. Adam.
Yeah, and at this hour, at the 11 o'clock hour, the National Hurricane Center has the center of Ophelia 70 miles to the south of Cape Lookout, North Carolina, where it will make landfall right in that region early tomorrow morning. Still at the 11 o'clock hour, sustained winds 70 miles an hour, a strong tropical storm. The convection started to fire up around the center when it went over the Gulf Stream waters, adding a little bit of fuel to the fire. North of there, we have a lot of rain displaced from the center of the storm. And in fact, some of the first bands knocking on the doorstep of South Jersey, southern Delaware, and we'll continue to see these feeder bands wrapping around that center of the storm, almost looking like one of those cinnamon buns there, as the convection around the eye wall is the most intense. When we take a look at some of the wind gusts, notice near the center 20 to 40 mile an hour wind gusts, but closer to home, Hampton Roads 41 mile an hour wind gusts the last hour, 46 in Wallops Island. It is stronger to the north than it is near the northern center of the storm because of the pressure gradient with high pressure to the north, so it's squeezing stronger winds closer to home here. That is also bringing up the waves near the center of the storm and also where you get that pressure gradient, and that will all be lifting to the north tomorrow. The surf zone waves will be breaking 6 to 9 feet. Now, the strongest of the winds, the highest of the waves, will coincide with the timing of high tide tomorrow afternoon with moderate coastal flooding. But by the time we get into Sunday afternoon, the waves really start to lessen in intensity. Still very rough over the waters, but not expecting a second round of flooding with Sunday's high tide, thankfully. 50 to 60 mile an hour wind gusts with some power outages at the shore. What to expect tomorrow? Significant beach erosion, the water about 1 to 3 feet above tidal inundation, and many of the roads, because of that 1 to 3 feet above its normal stage, will be underwater. Never drive through flooded roads. We'll talk about the inland effects, and when this eventually moves out, they'll be slow to. Shari and that full AccuWeather forecast.
All right, Adam, thank you. Yeah. Well, the shore, yes, it is getting the brunt of this storm. Action News reporter Brianna Smith live for us now in Ocean City. And Brianna, how are the conditions there tonight?
Well, Shari, the wind has picked up. We're starting to feel the rain, and it's going to be much worse tomorrow. But residents and local leaders that we spoke to say they are more than ready for Tropical Storm Ophelia. From Atlantic City to Cape May, local leaders are warning residents to be prepared for heavy rain and strong winds this weekend. 6 ABC meteorologists are forecasting 2 to 4 inches of rainfall along the coast on Saturday, with wind gusts reaching 60 miles per hour.
With the coastal flooding, we have to test all of our pumps. If we do get flooding, we want to be able to exit that water as soon as possible.
Terry and Ron Diabaldi live in one of the flood zones on Bank Street. They showed us these pictures from previous storms.
And you can see it comes up all the way over the driveway.
But they say they're ready for the next one.
Doesn't bother us. Doesn't bother us. This is where we bought. It's Mother Nature.
Over on Elmira Street, Matt Patterson and his family are embracing the weather too, with a pizza party.
We're going to enjoy ourselves, and then tomorrow we're going to go ahead and button everything down, pull in the lawn furniture.
Anything that can fly, make sure you're putting it away.
Also reminding drivers to park their vehicles in safe spots and avoid flooded areas. Although this weekend is expected to be a washout, residents say they won't let this storm dampen their spirits.
You get to walk out to the ocean and you get to see the beautiful water. You get a lovely town like this with great people. So there's a little bit of a trade-off where you got to hunker down every once in a while, but it's clearly worth it.
A lot of positive attitudes out here. Now, many events were planned for this weekend in Ocean City and beyond. You'll want to make sure those are still happening. The New Jersey Jeep invasion has been postponed to October. In Ocean City, Brianna Smith, Channel 6 Action News. Shari?
Yeah, the wind whipping in your hair. Brianna, thank you. Be sure to keep the 6ABC app handy this weekend for the latest on Tropical Storm Ophelia. There you will find updates on the storm's path and its timing, as well as how it could affect your neighborhood. Yeah. Keeping an eye right now on a big storm with this AccuWeather alert in place.
Yeah.
Meteorologist Adam Joseph here now with more on that.
And not enough money to kick Ophelia out and have a sunny weekend.
She's hanging around, huh?
She is. Let's go to the Weather Center here. A live look. The tarp is down on the field there at the bank. The game's going to be kind of a tug and go here this upcoming weekend, whether or not they can get the entire game in without any sort of interruption. Live on our live casino camera at this hour after a win tonight. Rainfall totals, they vary anywhere from around an inch of rain for Philadelphia for the whole weekend. The NAM just updated and went so high, it's on the top end of the scale here. That's over 4 inches of rain. The graph showing about 1.5 inches to 2 inches. So yes, it is a soaker. Now, it doesn't pour or constantly rain the entire weekend, calling it a washout because even when it stops raining, it's still damp, windy, and then more rounds of rain will come. So it's kind of a on and off type of situation. Temps are in the 50s for the Lehigh Valley, a chilly night there, low 60s elsewhere, and right along the coastline, mid 60s. Present wind gusts 34 in Beach Haven, gusting to 34 in Ocean City, near 30 Cape May Point, Pomona at 26 miles an hour, and those winds will only increase as we go deeper into the night and throughout the day tomorrow. Storm Tracker 6 live, a couple of showers just off the coast of Atlantic City and Brigantine, a few drops there in parts of Kent County and Sussex County with some heavier rain down the pike of I-95 from Washington down to Baltimore. So we'll continue to see these feeder bands wrapping in around the center of Ophelia, working from the south to the north. So you can see the center of the storm still 70 miles from making landfall, but it's really stretching its legs up the eastern seaboard here as the storm is kind of pushing to the north fairly quickly right now, 12 miles an hour, and then will put on its brakes once it heads inland. Still a tropical storm tomorrow night right on the Virginia and North Carolina border, and then 24 hours later, still not in our region as a tropical depression by that point. So future tracker showing again those waves of rain early tomorrow morning, going into the afternoon tomorrow with breaks here and there, and then after one break comes in, another round of rain refires up. Same thing as we go into Sunday morning and Sunday afternoon as the remnant low is still around dealing with that wet weather. Tomorrow's the strongest of the winds all weekend, 30 to 40 north and west, 40 to 50 interior South Jersey and Delaware, and 50 to 60 miles an hour right along the coast with moderate flooding tomorrow afternoon's high tide 2 to 4 Jersey. Same thing for the bay there in Delaware, and then minor as you get up towards the Delaware River. Even the beaches down in Delaware dealing with moderate flooding at the time of high tide. The exclusive AccuWeather 7-day forecast, that AccuWeather alert tomorrow with those tropical rainy downpours on and off throughout the day. Still occasional rain, but at least less wind on Sunday, 69 degrees. It stays damp on Monday with lots of clouds as the low still trying to unwind. 68 cloudy Tuesday, Wednesday partly sunny, 70. That's when we're back in the bright. Still looking pretty decent at the end of next week. Coastal erosion at the shore as well, some power outages, so just be cautious if you are down there.
Yeah, all right, we'll stay on our toes.
All right, sounds good.
Adam, thanks.
Yeah.
5 a.m. Saturday morning, and we begin with the AccuWeather alert. Bust out the umbrella and hold on to your hat because Storm Tracker 6 and Sky 6 Live are showing you the arrival of a coastal storm. The Jersey and Delaware shores will be bearing the brunt of a day-long deluge of rain and wind. Philadelphia and the burbs will also get a soaking too. It's a great day to stay indoors. Good morning. I am Christy Aletto. Meteorologist Chris Sowers has been tracking this nasty storm all week, and he just got an update on this this storm. Chris.
All right. And, like you said, we have been tracking this. I'm going to use this quick little segment here to kind of set everything up for you. Ophelia developed yesterday. It's right about there. It's about an hour or two away from making landfall across the Carolinas. And when you look at this, it's a very broad storm. And the problem here is, because it's not small and compact, rather very large and kind of elongated here, it's going to take days for this thing to get out of here. So it is technically a tropical system, but you clearly can see it's almost taking on regular low pressure characteristics. You can kind of see fronts here on the side. Regardless, the impacts for us are going to end up being the same. We also have a jet stream that's kind of coming in like this. All right, and what that's going to do is it's going to take this rain plume and it's going to drive it inland later today. Then Ophelia follows behind as we get into Sunday. Bottom line, what it means for your weekend, an absolute mess, unfortunately. All right, here's a closer look at the radar. And again, you can see the first round of rain pushing through. Nothing's very heavy at the moment, but notice the yellows off to the southeast. Those bands, outer edges of this tropical system, if you will, they will be lifting north throughout the day. And again, there's a closer look at the center of Ophelia as it gets ready to make landfall. One of the things that we've been concerned about over the last couple of days is what's called this pressure gradient. All right, remember the winds around the high, all right, they move clockwise. Around the low, they move counterclockwise. All right, just like that. Here's your push. All right, and this is the game with this. Sure, we're going to pick up a little bit of flooding, and there's going to be gusty winds down at the Jersey Shore. But, think about what happens when you're in a pool and you take your hand and you push the water like that. The wind is doing the same thing. So this is an onshore flow. Because of that, we get the moderate coastal flooding at the Jersey Shore. We get the moderate coastal flooding for the Delaware Bay, Delaware side. But notice right here on the New Jersey side, it's only minor because of the wind direction. Here's a look at those wind speeds. And again, you can clearly see the direction starting to pile the water in now. We already have gusts between 30 and 40 miles per hour. So what to expect here today? Periods of rain, some of it heavy at times, especially through the early afternoon. Going to be ponding on roads, slow travel. All right, strong winds, especially at the Jersey Shore. We could see gusts 50 to 60 miles per hour, maybe a couple power outages there. Also coastal flooding. High tide today up and down the Jersey Shores right around 2:30 this afternoon. And once we get into lower tide later this evening, it's going to be very difficult for that water to drain around the back bays. So that's a quick check on the forecast for now. Obviously, I have much more coming up throughout the next hour and a half here. Christy?
All right, look forward to the update, Chris. And so much for a day at the beach. Mother Nature is throwing a wrench into that. This is Sky 6 live showing you a soaked Ocean City boardwalk. And instead of all the sun, shore communities are getting soaked by steady rain. Several inches of it is expected. And if that's not enough, strong wind gusts are making it even more miserable. This is Sky 6 live. The waves crashing ashore in Atlantic City. Action News reporter Brianna Smith went down to the shore as the locals prepare for the storm.
With the coastal flooding, we have to test all of our pumps. If we do get flooding, we want to be able to exit that water as soon as possible.
Terry and Ron Diabaldi live in one of the flood zones on Bank Street. They showed us these pictures from previous storms.
And you can see it comes up all the way over the driveway.
But they say they're ready for the next one.
Doesn't bother us. Doesn't bother us. This is where we bought. It's Mother Nature.
Over on Elmira Street, Matt Patterson and his family are embracing the weather too with a pizza party.
We're going to enjoy ourselves, and then tomorrow we're going to go ahead and button everything down, pull in the lawn furniture.
Anything that can fly, make sure you're putting it away.
Also reminding drivers to park their vehicles in safe spots and avoid flooded areas. Although this weekend is expected to be a washout, residents say they won't let this storm dampen their spirits.
You get to walk out to the ocean and you get to see the beautiful water. You get a lovely town like this with great people. So there's a little bit of a trade-off where you got to hunker down every once in a while, but it's clearly worth it.
Many events were planned for this weekend, but you'll want to make sure those are still happening. The New Jersey Jeep Invasion was scheduled for Saturday, but it's been postponed. In Ocean City, Brianna Smith, Channel 6 Action News.
In Sky 6, looking live at Philadelphia International Airport right now. Last check, there were just a few delays and cancellations, but if you are planning to be wheels up today, call 1-800-PHL-GATE to check on the status of flights connecting to or from Philadelphia International Airport. And also keep the 6ABC app handy this week for the latest on the storm. There you will find updates on the storm's path, timing, and anything else that's impacting your neighborhood. Chris will have another update in 5 minutes right here on 6ABC. And Becca Hendrickson will bring you a live report from the Jersey Shore at 6. Tropical Storm Ophelia is expected to make landfall on North Carolina's coast early this morning. Video from the Outer Banks shows the windy conditions there as the storm was approaching. It was even getting hard for that individual right there to stand up straight as the winds whipped around on the beach in Nags Head. Of course, though, everybody, including emergency officials, saying that if you don't have to be outside, please stay indoors.
Now, see, to me, that looked like fun.
Chris.
You have to remember, though, the reporters, they're not putting themselves in harm's way. They're fine, but it looked like fun to me. That's why I took up meteorology as a profession. All right, here's a look at the headlines behind me. It is rainy and windy today, tomorrow, the entire weekend. Now, it's not going to rain the entire time. There's going to be some dry stretches here, but overall, this is definitely an indoors type weekend. Watch out for some street flooding, okay? Especially late morning into the early afternoon. We're going to get these pockets of heavier rain. That rain could come down pretty heavily at times, so there could be some ponding on the roads. Some delays and power outages are also possible, especially the farther east you travel. You get closer to the Jersey Shore, this is where the strongest winds will be and the heaviest of the rainfall. All right, Storm Tracker 6 Live behind me. You can clearly see the shield of rain that's already in the process of pushing through. There's the heaviest down there around the Delaware Bay. Again, that lifts north over the next several hours as Ophelia begins to come on shore. It's probably about an hour and a half away from making landfall there in southern North Carolina. So we kind of have two parts. This is the front end here, the heavy, what we call stratiform rain. All right, there's really nothing too tropical with this. The tropical stuff is down here with the center of Ophelia. That comes through on Sunday. There it is right there. There's the center. Notice we have a little bit of dry space here to the east. All the heaviest rain around Ophelia is on the northern and western side. Here's a look at the cone, all right, or where we expect the center of the storm to travel. And notice it looks like it will pass right over the Delaware Bay. Now, fortunately for us, because it is a pretty hefty storm at this point, has maximum sustained winds currently of 70 miles per hour. But remember, once this thing moves over land, it loses its source of fuel, if you will, those warm waters, so it starts to weaken, all right? And it pushes right over the Chesapeake and the Delaware Bay as we get into the second half of the weekend and beyond. So at this point, it's sort of just a superinflated rainstorm. So we're not looking at near hurricane force winds as the center gets closer to the area like they're going to see down around the Carolinas later today. Futurecast showing a little bit of a break here in the action. Notice how the moisture begins to increase, though, late afternoon, early evening. And again, even though the model is showing a break, I would expect this to be an all-day rain, on and off periods of rain type day. And then tomorrow, here's the center of Ophelia. That starts to push through as we get into Sunday afternoon. So what I'm going to do today is I'm watching college football all day, and then tomorrow I'm going to watch pro football all day. I mean, that's pretty much, you got to plan it that way, right? Indoors type weekend. Now, when all is said and done, rainfall totals, this is a good soaking, a good 1 to 3 in the area shaded in green. Let's go 2 to 4 here in yellow. So that's the Jersey Shore and the Delaware Bay and even portions of interior South Jersey. Percentage-wise, here's a look at how it plays out throughout the day. I mean, we're talking about pretty much all day on and off. All right, periods of rain. The intensity varies at times, okay? It could be heavy at times. Other times it's really light and just kind of misty. Also, remember the onshore push we were talking about earlier in the broadcast. Look at the wave heights just offshore. We're talking 14, 15, maybe 16-foot waves. And again, the direction is like this. We're piling the water up. All right, Jersey Shore, Delaware beaches, even the Delaware Bay, and even during times of low tide for the back bays, Barnegat Bay, maybe the bays there in Avalon, Stone Harbor, it's going to be really hard for that water to drain out. So there's going to be some flooding issues down here. Barnegat Bay, moderate flooding, high tides around 3 p.m. Atlantic City, 2 p.m., moderate. They're all moderate flooding, and that means at least 1.5 to 2.5 feet above what's considered a normal high tide. All right, here's a look at the winds. All right, they're out of the east, northeast, 30 to 40, 40 to 50 for interior South Jersey, and 50 to 60 down to Jersey Shore. Here we go, the exclusive AccuWeather 7-day forecast. It's a rainy one today as well as tomorrow. Actually, I should be pushing these back. I forgot to hit that button. So that red is for Saturday. Just take every day and push it up one. So what you see Sunday should be Saturday, Monday, and so on and so forth here. Hopefully, we start to clear out come Tuesday afternoon. Remember, it's a slow-moving system. There's sort of a trough coming in on the backside, but also, Christy, I know that I noticed the temperatures here. I know how much you're going to enjoy this. Look how cool some of those numbers are. I mean, almost the whole
I'm going to enjoy that?
Right,
I think
so
you're going to
maybe-
enjoy that. But I love how you were like, I'm just going to stay home and watch college football.
I think you'll also be watching
I plan
Ophelia.
my day around college football on Saturday and pro football on Sunday.
Right, but you'll also be tracking the storm,
I'll be
too.
tracking it, too.
You'll be watching Ophelia and football.
Computer, my iPad.
All right, Chris, thank you. Let's get another check of the AccuWeather forecast. Chris, during the break, we were actually talking about just how angry that ocean looks behind you, and that's not even considered high tide right now.
Right, I believe. I have to double check, but I believe we're pretty close to low tide right now. One of the things that Christy and I, we were just looking at during the commercial break is you can clearly see each wave. It's not letting the other one, the previous wave, recede. You can already see the water coming in. Look how angry those seas are, and that was really the biggest issue from day one with this. Remember the onshore push here, right? From low pressure to high pressure, you get this gradient. Okay, or this push, this flow here that's moving from east to west. The water's going to pile up. It's also going to pile up here along the Delaware Bay. On the Delaware side, we're looking at least 1 to 3 feet above what's considered a normal high tide. And that's why the warnings have been issued for the Delaware River and also the northern side of the Delaware Bay. It's just a flood advisory. Also, there's a look at the wind advisories. Now, in interior sections here, 40 to 50 mile an hour gusts, but right on the immediate shoreline is where we could see gusts 50 to 60 miles per hour. And a high wind warning has been issued there. I want to show you the 7-day forecast. This is the proper 7-day. Today we're just looking at a tropical rainstorm in 64. Occasional rain on Sunday, 67. Monday still a little damp. All right, maybe some leftover showers, 67. And then finally from that point on we start to dry out by midweek. Christy?
All right, Chris, thank you. It is 5:30 Saturday morning. I am Christy Aletto alongside meteorologist Chris Sowers, who is tracking the arrival of a wind-whipped deluge for the weekend.
And today officially is, right, the first day of fall. It's certainly going to feel like that. Might be a good day to maybe, for the first time this season, kind of light a fire in the fireplace if you have one. I mean, it's going to be chilly. The temperature right now is 63 down to Jersey Shore, and we're looking at low to mid-60s inland as well. Probably not going to climb too much higher, quite honestly. Maybe we get into the mid-60s. Here's the view. Okay, that's Atlantic City, and you can clearly see how rough the waves are. And remember, we're at low tide right now. High tide isn't until about 2:30 this afternoon. Look at the winds already beginning to hum here down to Jersey Shore. Right there on the shoreline, gusts are already exceeding 45 miles per hour, 20 to 30 miles per hour inland. Remember, as the storm starts to lift north during the course of the day, those speeds, all right, the numbers you just saw there, they're all going to start to increase. And these bands of rain, the rounds here, all of this is going to be moving that way. All right, towards the northwestern suburbs later in the day. So we'll start out with the heavy stuff here in southern New Jersey first over the next couple of hours, and then again everything will shift north and west of the city as we get into the afternoon. Let's quickly zoom into the mouth of the Delaware Bay, and again you can see the heavy rains here indicated by the yellows and the orange. These are what we call outer feeder bands, all right, from the center of the storm, which is down in the Carolinas, and they're sort of tropical in nature. Although when you get closer to the center of the storm, that's when you really start to pick up the tropical rains. Remember, the jet stream is sort of moving like this, and what it has done is it's kind of separated that batch of really heavy rain from the center of the storm. So you have sort of a two-piece storm. One comes through today, the second round comes through on Sunday, and that's why we're looking at such a long duration event here. Here's the good news. All right, tropical storm warnings only extend as far north as the Delaware-Maryland state line. Notice there's nothing for our immediate surrounding suburbs because the storm's going to be weakening as it starts to move inland. So what to expect at the shore today? On and off periods of rain, a lot of it, 2 to 4 inches. All right, wind gusts 50 to 60 miles per hour. Probably going to be some power outages and trees down. For the I-95 metro area, rainfall totals 1 to 3 inches, gusts 35 to 45 miles per hour. Also watch for some ponding on the roads. You get underneath some of those heavier cells. It's going to be a lot of water in a short period of time, and also the wet leaves tend to slicken things up as well. Christy?
All right, Chris Sowers with his eyes to the skies. Well, we continue to track Tropical Storm Ophelia as it begins to move into our area. Looking live right here at the Ocean City Boardwalk from our attheshore.com Sky 6 camera. The rain and wind gusts will be picking up. The storm comes on a very popular weekend at the Jersey Shore. The North Wildwoods Irish Fall Festival had people all decked out in green yesterday before the storm soaks the island. Portions of the festival will now be moved to indoor venues today.
I anticipate the vendors probably will not be on the streets tomorrow unless something dramatic changes with the forecast. They are moving the pipe exhibition inside North Wildwood Community Center tomorrow if everything goes okay, and hopefully we'll be back out here on Sunday.
And in Margate, the annual Fall Festival was canceled this weekend. Organizers say the tents, stages, and inflatables were just too risky with the expected severe weather. Action News reporter Becca Hendrickson will have a live report from Wildwood in about a half hour. Don't we just wish that they were playing today, though? Or not even today, just this weekend.
Just this weekend, right.
Yeah.
You know, we were just talking about this. You know, it's great that we're getting all this recognition with the primetime games and everything, but we don't play on Sundays anymore. You know what I mean? So Sundays aren't the same.
We'll be back on the Sunday train.
Sunday. Well, actually, it's probably a good thing. Well, they'd be in Tampa, so I guess it wouldn't matter here because it's going to be miserable here in the Philadelphia area this upcoming weekend. So rainy and windy today. Watch for some street flooding. Okay, we get these rounds. Remember, this is tropical in nature. We get these rounds of heavy rain, and some of the rainfall rates could be pretty impressive, at least briefly, and that means you could get some street flooding or at least some ponding. Also, maybe a few delays and power outages, especially as you get closer to the Jersey Shore. All right, now as far as the rainfall percentages, we're pretty much locked in this weekend. This entire system is really centered around the weekend, and then notice how the numbers begin to drop as we get into next week. Funny thing is, the pattern, as this storm comes up the coast, the trough, all right, the pocket of cooler air on the backside really starts to deepen, and now almost the entire 7-day forecast is actually in the 60s for highs, so it's definitely going to feel like fall out there. Storm Tracker 6 Live showing the intermittent moderate to heavy rain falling across the area. We got some pretty good rain here in the Lehigh Valley, and then the heaviest by far is down here to the south. Let's zoom in quickly. That's Cape May County. Here's your Delaware Bay, state of Delaware. And again, everything as the storm is coming on shore now, all of these bands will be lifting to the north, okay, as the day wears on. So if you're someone that likes to check in on your phone and you look at your favorite weather app, you want to look down to the bottom of the viewing area because that's where everything's going to be coming from throughout the day. So again, all of this coverage will increase as the day wears on. Here's a wider view. All right, this is what we call stratiform rains on the front end. The center of circulation is down here. Actually, it looks like it's just ready to make landfall now. Let's zoom in a little bit tighter. Morehead City's right about here. There it is right there. And it looks like the eye wall is just now starting to come on shore. So again, as it moves on shore, it loses its fuel, okay? These storms rely on that warm water for strengthening. So once it comes on shore, it loses the fuel and the storm eventually starts to weaken. Okay, here's a look at the modeling and what its take on it is. You can see again, it's a kind of elongated storm. So the front end rain is today, then the actual center pushes through as we get into Sunday morning and afternoon. And even Monday morning, there's still a little bit of moisture, a little piece left behind. So this could actually end up being a 3-day event. The closer view shows perhaps a few breaks during the afternoon, but I would just expect periods of rain throughout the day. And again, some of it could be heavy at times. Notice the yellows and the oranges and the reds. There's the center of what I guess at that point would be the remnants of Ophelia pushing through. This is Sunday morning, okay, into the afternoon. We're still looking at a miserable time. And again, there could be a piece of moisture left over for Monday. Rainfall totals look pretty impressive. Generally, we're going 1 to 2 or perhaps isolated heavier amounts north and west of the city. And then at least 2 inches down here to the south, isolated heavier amounts to maybe 3 or 4. So let's kind of sum this all up for you. Forecast for today, it's an indoors type day. Periods of rain, some of it heavy at times. It's windy and cool with a high of just 64. Normally we should be in the mid 70s. Overnight tonight, now the numbers aren't going to drop too much. Remember, you get the clouds, and this is sort of a tropical system, so it kind of acts like a blanket here. It insulates things. 61 is the overnight low. Periods of rain, especially early on. It's still windy. And then for tomorrow, 67 is the high. Again, periods of rain. And we'll tone it down a little bit. Instead of using the word windy for tomorrow, let's go breezy. For the Jersey Shore, 50 to 60 mile an hour gusts. Likely there will be some power outages here. Significant beach erosion. And there's no other way that I could put it here than using the word significant. I do expect some problems with that. 1 to 3 feet of tidal inundation. Many roads will likely be flooded. The exclusive AccuWeather 7-day forecast. Remember, high tide this afternoon along the ocean front. So right around 2:30. So the exclusive AccuWeather 7-day, 64. It's a tropical rainstorm today. Leftover rain and drizzle for Sunday. Monday, there still could be a couple of showers left over. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Everything starts to improve by the middle of next week. But remember, it is a slow process. Temperatures are on the cooler side, and the weekend's just miserable.
You know, I'm trying to stay positive about this, and I'm thinking we're going to have a great fall foliage.
Well, that's possible, right? Yeah. I was trying to stay positive for the weekend. I mean, like bake cookies and watch college football.
Break out the board games and cue the movies.
There you go. That'll work.
Chris, thank you.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. Time now, 5:55 on this rainy, windy Saturday morning. You're live on Sky 6 from the Brandywine camera. 59 degrees. Wind starting to pick up. Call from AccuWeather for today. Doesn't look too good, right? I mean, we're looking at pretty much on and off periods of rain and drizzle all day long. The wind's really going to pick up too. Also, notice the fall-like temperatures. How appropriately, right? Today is the first day of fall. Upper 50s, low 60s throughout the day. I mean, it's going to be fairly chilly compared to the seasonal average. 59 today is the high in Allentown and Lansdale, Coatesville, 58, Pomona 66, and Philadelphia. Eventually, we get up to 64.
It is 6 o'clock Saturday morning, and we begin now with an AccuWeather alert tracking a coastal storm. We are waking up to a very wet morning, feeling the impacts of that system as it hits the East Coast right now. Sky 6 taking a live look towards Center City from their Temple University camera. Heavy rains and strong winds have now made their way to the Delaware Valley, washing out weekend plans. In just minutes, we'll have a live report from the Jersey Shore, which is expected to get slammed by this storm. But first, let's turn now to meteorologist Chris Sowers for more on that AccuWeather alert and what people should expect everywhere across our region.
Unfortunately, good morning, Christy. Good morning, everyone. Unfortunately, it's going to be a miserable start to the weekend. Let's kind of set this up for you here. We're going to use the infrared satellite for that. And you can clearly see how elongated, okay, this system is. You can see the brighter cloud tops in and around the Philadelphia area. And then you have another little piece here. That's the center moving onshore. The jet stream is kind of moving like this. All right, and you can kind of see it puncturing or pushing, injecting inland towards the Chesapeake Bay right there. The significance there is it's kind of taken this system and split it in two. You've got the center here, and then you've got the stratiform rains, if you will, on the northern side. So what that means is you've got two pieces that come through. It's going to be a long duration event as opposed to a maybe one and done type deal where it's in and out in a day. So expect rain not only today, but tomorrow as well. And also all day, you're going to look towards the southeast. This is where the weather is coming from when you look at your apps throughout the afternoon. All right, so that right here, again, the center, the storm's lifting north. It's going to be down here. Everything kind of lifts to the north just like that. There's the center of circulation. Looks like it's getting ready to make landfall now. It probably already has, right around Morehead City. You have high pressure here to the north and low pressure coming on shore. We were talking about this earlier in the week. Remember the counterclockwise winds around the low, coupled with the clockwise winds around the high, you get this fetch, right, or this push inland, this push of water. And what's going to happen here is the tide comes in later this afternoon. All of the water gets pushed in right here. Okay, and you get the coastal flooding, moderate flooding likely along the Jersey Shore. Now, I think the Delaware Bay, the Jersey side, is actually going to be okay because the winds are coming like this. So the Delaware side of the Delaware Bay looks like you end up seeing moderate to maybe major flooding, whereas it's only minor flooding on the New Jersey side, and of course moderate flooding right there along the ocean front. That's a quick check on the forecast for now. Obviously, there's a lot more to talk about. I'll be back in a few minutes. We'll kind of walk you through the timing and what you can expect tomorrow as well. Remember, it's not just a one-day event here. It's probably going to be 2 or 3. Christy?
Right, we'll be all ears, Chris. Thank you. And as Chris just showed us, the Jersey Shore and Delaware beaches are expected to get hit the hardest by this storm. A high surf advisory just went into effect moments ago. Flooding could impact those who are headed down to the shore for weekend events. And for more on that, we turn now to Action News reporter Becca Hendrickson, who is live in North Wildwood, New Jersey. Becca, what are you seeing and feeling right now?
Christy, the wind is really what's vicious behind us. We are right along the shoreline here in North Wildwood, and I just want to try to give you a look at it. The water is already hitting the wall. We're seeing some really big waves out here already, and again, we're not even close to high tide at this point. This water coming all the way up to the seawall, and those winds are whipping. We tried coming over the bridge this morning, and we felt like we were whipping all over the place, and even on the roads we're already seeing some flooding on the roads, some ponding, and it's all swirling around really because of how heavy that this wind is. Not quite the day that you want to be coming out down here at the Jersey Shore. I know there are a lot of events going on this weekend, specifically here in North Wildwood with the Irish Festival, but conditions so far this morning early are pretty brutal. The wind really being the the hardest part for us right now, and the rain too is pouring down. Thankfully, we have some coverage under a gazebo here, but I'm having a hard time hearing right now. I'm having a hard time standing still. I feel like I could just get blown over at any moment. We're going to have more updates coming to you from North Wildwood this morning, but for now, live here along the seawall, Becca Hendrickson, Channel 6 Action News. Christy?
Yeah, great reporting, Becca. Please stay safe, you and your photographer, Ian, and we'll be sure to check back with you later in this newscast. And also make sure that you download the 6ABC app to get the updated AccuWeather forecast, even when you're not on the air. Our team of meteorologists will be tracking the storm's path and also timing, as well as how it could impact your neighborhood. An AccuWeather alert is now in effect. Let's head over to meteorologist Chris Sowers with a check on what we can expect across the region, Chris.
Right. And what a way to kick off fall, right?
Yeah.
So we have this storm, Ophelia, that has just now made landfall just to the southwest of Morehead City in North Carolina, but it's a really stretched out, elongated system. So it's going to take several days for this thing. It's moving in now. It's going to take several days for it, unfortunately, to move out. So here's your forecast today as well as tomorrow and possibly lingering into Monday morning. Watch out for some street flooding. There's going to be some bands of heavier rain pushing through over the next couple of hours. Delays are possible, especially as you work your way closer to the Jersey Shore, maybe even a couple of power outages as we really start to see the winds ramp up. Look at the wave action right here. And this is low tide down in Atlantic City. We've been watching the waves come in over the last half hour, 45 minutes, and you can clearly see how angry those seas are. We're going to get these big breakers. All right, later this afternoon, we could see waves anywhere from, I don't know, maybe 8 to 10 feet breaking on the sand, and they just they're so big that when they break, they just vibrate or rumble across the beach. 64 degrees is the present temperature reading down there. All right, let's look at Storm Tracker 6 live. And, you know, the way this day is going to play out, it's kind of hard to describe. I mean, the rain's going to come down like a sack of wrenches at times, and then other times it's sort of just little pitter-patter, you know, kind of intermittent. But when it does come down heavily, it is going to come down. And you're seeing it here, this band pushing through southern New Jersey and the state of Delaware. Let's go a little bit farther to the south. Again, these are the outer edges. All right, or the feeder bands, if you will, from Ophelia that are already starting to lift into the Delaware and the Lehigh Valleys. There's a look at that heavy rain. That's Salem and Cumberland counties in New Jersey. Here's a look at the Delaware Bay. Becca's sitting right there. So that heavy rain is just now pulling away from her, but more is getting ready to push on shore. And again, that's the way the day is going to be, and probably Sunday as well, unfortunately. This is all stratiform rains to the top. All right, down here is where you start to really pick up the tropical stuff. And there's the center of circulation there. The jet stream has kind of punctured this and lifted the heavy rain well north of the center, and that's why we're seeing such an elongated system here. This is why it's going to be a 2 or 3 day event. So here's a look at the modeling. There's the center, and just watch this thing lift to the north. So the first round comes through today. There's the actual center, the second piece, okay, as we get into Sunday. And then even Monday, there's still a little bit of moisture left behind through the early morning hours. Hopefully by afternoon we can kick this thing off the coast and out to sea. I'm going to put a few pauses here, but again, I would just expect on and off periods of rain all day and then through the overnight hours and into Sunday. Unfortunately, that's just the way this weekend is going to play out here. Rainfall totals 1 to 3 when all is said and done for the I-95 corridor, 2 to 4. But remember, that is stretched out through 48 hours. So I don't think there's going to be too much flooding in and around the Philadelphia area. The only flooding that I'm concerned about is the coastal stuff because of the onshore push. Winds gusting 30 to 40 far western counties, 50 to 60 down at the Jersey Shore. And here's a quick look at the tides, the wave heights. Again, as that system pushes through, we could see anywhere from 8 to 10-foot waves breaking. And with the onshore flow, that means moderate flooding, Barnegat light, Atlantic City, Ocean City, Cape May. And the problem here is high tides around 2:30 this afternoon. Even during low tide later this evening, it's going to be really difficult for those back bays to drain out. So the flooding may linger for an extended period of time down there. The exclusive AccuWeather with a 7-day forecast. Let's go 64 today. We're just going to call it a tropical rainstorm. 67 Sunday, occasional rain and drizzle. Monday, it's still damp. And then finally, Tuesday, we start to improve. Look at the 60s, almost the entire 7-day. We're seeing temperatures a good month and a half ahead of time. You know, this is where we should be about a month from now. So, you know, indoors, that's the way to go this weekend.
I know, and those emergency management officials all up and down those shore towns, they warned us about this potential for flooding.
And, you know, I'm not telling everybody stay off the roads or anything like that, but I would say if you don't have to go out, don't.
Good advice. All right, Action News will be right back.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We are in alert mode. The greatest impacts with the system are going to be felt down at the Jersey Shore because of that onshore flow here. This is where we have the wind advisory. All right, 40 to 50 miles per hour inland. away from the water. And then, of course, you get the really high wind speeds, 50 to 60, right there along the ocean front here. Now, my biggest concern as far as flooding is concerned is actually going to be right here. Remember, the winds are blowing like this, so we're going to take that water in the Delaware Bay and we're really going to pile it up as we get into Kent and Sussex counties later this afternoon. High tide is around 4:30 in Bowers Beach. All right, it's a weekend washout at the shore, 2 to 4 inches of rain, winds gusting 50 to 60 miles per hour. We're already seeing reports of trees down. It's going to likely be some power outages as well. For the I-95 corridor, rainfall of 1 to 3 inches, gusts 35 to 45 miles per hour. It's going to be a lot of ponding on the road, so you have to slow down those traveling speeds. Christy?
But first, let's get a check on the AccuWeather alert with meteorologist Chris Sowers, because this storm is pretty much on its way here.
Yeah, it's going to be a doozy. Behind me, you can already see the heavy rain starting to push through. You know, we actually could use the rain. I was trying to put some Halloween decorations yesterday into the ground, and the ground is just so hard because it's dry. So the rain is a good thing. The bad thing is going to end up being that onshore flow and the coastal flooding that they see down there. They could see anywhere from 2 to 3 feet above what's considered normal, and that means the flooding could be, well, it's definitely going to be moderate, borderline major in parts of the area. There's a heavy rain pushing through. Philadelphia, it's a moderate rain. Look at the heavy stuff down there in South Jersey. We're going to zoom into Cape May County. Okay, this is where Becca is. She's right here around Wildwood, and you can see the wind-swept rains all kind of pushing that way. These are feeder bands, all right, outer edges of Ophelia as Ophelia comes on shore there in North Carolina. Now, the shore is going to bear the brunt of this system. This has pretty much been the thinking since day one. High wind warning, 50 to 60 mile an hour gusts, maybe some power outages. Already starting to see some trees down. Coastal flood warning, moderate flooding along the ocean front, but some of the back bays could actually take on major flooding. And there's also a high surf advisory for 5 to as much as 10-foot waves. It goes without saying. Rip current's obviously going to be an issue, and I don't think anyone's foolish enough to honestly be in the water. Satellite and the radar showing again the outer edges here. And again, it's a two-part system. This is the stratiform range. The jet stream has kind of come in, all right, like this, and it's taken the northern part of it and pushed it away from the center. So now we have two pieces. The first one comes through today, and then the second one comes in as we get into tomorrow. The good news is, notice how the tropical storm warnings end right there on the Maryland-Delaware state line, because as the storm comes on shore like this and it moves like that, it loses its fuel source as it comes over land. So the system will be weakening over the next 12 to 24 hours. Christy, I'll send it back over to you.
All right, Chris, thank you. We are also now taking a live look down the shore from our attheshore.com camera. This is how it looks along the boardwalk in Ocean City, New Jersey. Rains and high surf are expected to cause flooding to several shore towns there. And those waves could also cause erosion on beaches that are already struggling to maintain the sand. Action News reporter Becca Hendrickson is live in North Wildwood. Becca, the last time we checked in with you, you were struggling to stand upright. And as meteorologist Chris Sowers just mentioned, the winds where you are right now are hovering around 45 miles per hour. What are you experiencing?
Christy, I'm definitely feeling those 45-mile-an-hour winds. At this point, I'm actually using a bench that's behind me to keep me upright. It's holding my legs steady. You can see I'm holding my hood in my hat, just trying to stay standing at this point with this vicious wind and this pretty vicious rain. I want to give you a look behind me at the ocean. We're along JFK Boulevard, right against the wall. Low tide here in North Wildwood is actually in about an hour, and you can see just how far up these waves are coming already because of it. So the big concern here on the island is, what is this going to look like at high tide if this is how it's looking at low tide? I've been talking with a couple fire chiefs, a couple OEM coordinators down here at the shore this morning. They said at this point the big concern is just wind and rain. So far, no real closures, no real outages. I did log on to Atlantic City Electric just to see what it's looking like here in North Wildwood. They say they have a couple dozen or so, about 28 outages. You can see that these lights along JFK Boulevard down here in North Wildwood are flickering at this point. It's been like that all morning, and the street, I know you probably can't get a good look at this, but the wind is just moving so quickly that it's pulling all of that water down the street really fast. We're seeing trash cans flying over, a couple other signs flying over as well. Just pretty brutal conditions down here in North Wildwood this weekend. And of course, it's a really popular weekend to be down at the shore with the Irish Festival. A lot of that had to be moved inside. Obviously, not a great weekend to be outside here. I know when my photographer Ian was coming over the bridge, he said the news van was whipping back and forth with the wind coming in and out. As you come over the bridge into North Wildwood, you're coming in on 147. I did look and see that there's some flooding on that road already as well. They had to close one lane because of that. And I'm back on the bench because this wind is picking up. Again, Christy, just trying to stay upright here in North Wildwood. Bring you more updates all throughout the morning, of course, live here in North Wildwood. Becca Hendrickson, Channel 6 Action News. Christy?
Yeah, thank you for that live report, and make sure that you and Ian stay safe. Chris Sowers did want me to pass along that he would willingly trade places with you, but we want you to stay safe as you continue to bring us these reports, Becca. Thank you. Tropical Storm Ophelia is expected to make landfall on the North Carolina coast early this morning. Video from the Outer Banks shows the windy conditions there as the storm was approaching. Now, it was getting hard to stand up straight as the winds whipped around on the beach in Nags Head. Stay with Action News as we continue to follow the path of the storm all morning long. Okay, let's get right to it. An AccuWeather alert is in effect for us right now. Meteorologist Chris Sowers and I were trying to figure out during the break what are good indoor activities. He said bowling. I said today is a good day to sign up for a bottomless mimosa brunch.
Now, see, I'm right there with you, too. That's not a bad idea. Becca's going to need a Captain and Coke after this one, right? All right, well, let's take a look at some of the headlines out there this afternoon. Rainy and windy. And again, I'm trying not to make it sound like Armageddon because it's not going to be that bad for about 80% of us. It's just a rainy and windy day. But with that being said, it is tropical in nature. You're going to have some of these really heavy downpours. So if you're traveling along on one of the major, roadways around here, you don't want to be traveling at a high rate of speed and then encounter one of these heavy bands that drops the visibility down. You don't want to get into an accident, so you have to be careful there. And also, there's still a lot of leaves on the trees. So as you work your way closer to the Jersey Shore, you're going to see possibly some trees being toppled and things like that. You don't want to run into things like that. So again, there is some danger here, but it's not it could be worse. Let's just put it that way. Watch for street flooding. Some delays are possible, and there could be some power outages. But again, I think a lot of that is going to be confined to areas down at the Jersey Shore. And this system, for the most part, is really centered on this weekend. Notice how the percentages really start to drop off as we get into next week. That is an angry-looking sea. Becca was just talking about how, this is low tide, and look what it looks like. Okay, so imagine high tide, right, when the water really starts to come in. And that's part of the problem here. We've got that persistent onshore flow, which refuses to let the water out. 64 degrees right now on the sand, and one of the biggest issues is going to be those back bays, all right, in Avalon, the back bays in like Barnegat Bay and Ocean in southeast Burlington counties. The water's going to have a very difficult time receding as we get into the evening hours, so flooding is going to be a big problem down here. Northeasterly winds, there's that push, anywhere from 30 to 40 miles per hour. Here's a look at some of the outer edges of Ophelia, the feeder bands. First one pushing through. Notice the break here. There's another one behind it, though, and that's the kind of day this is going to be. On and off periods of rain, some of it heavy at times. Becca's right there in Wildwood. Looks like she has a heavy band pushing through now. She'll catch a break probably in about 20 minutes or so. This is all heavy rain. Rainfall rates within that band are anywhere from 3/4 of an inch to an inch per hour. Okay, so that's a heavy band pushing through. All right, let's go a little bit farther down here to the south. Ophelia has just now come on shore. Morehead City's right there, lifting to the northwest pretty quickly at about 30 miles per hour. And I'm going to show you a futurecast. There could be some dry patches here, but again, this is pretty much just an on and off wet day. Periods of rain, some of it heavy at times. And then as we get into Sunday, there's the actual center of what was once Ophelia at that point pushing through. So today we get the stratiform rains. We get the center of the storm come tomorrow. All right, let's put it all together for you. Forecast for today, periods of rain, some of it heavy. It's windy and cool otherwise with a high of 64. Overnight tonight, periods of rain and windy with a low of 61. For tomorrow, periods of rain. We won't call it windy. We'll tone it down a notch. We'll call it breezy. 67 is the high there. For the Jersey Shore, 50 to 60 mile an hour gusts. There could be some power outages here. Significant beach erosion, 1 to 3 feet tidal inundation. Okay, that's 1 to 3 feet above what's considered a normal high tide. There's going to be some road closures down there. The exclusive AccuWeather 7-day forecast. So again, we're in alert mode today. We're just going to call it a tropical rainstorm. Occasional leftover rain and drizzle tomorrow. Maybe something lingers into Monday morning, but I think we see big improvements Monday afternoon, and then from Tuesday on it looks a lot better. Notice the highs. Every day we're in the 60s. Those are temperatures we should see about a month to a month and a half from now.
So I blame you, because you wanted this sweater weather.
Oh, maybe. I wanted it to feel like fall. I wasn't in all those 90s to open up September. That was crazy.
All right, Chris, thank you.
Action News, Delaware Valley's leading news program, now continues.
It is 7 o'clock Saturday morning, and we begin now with an AccuWeather alert tracking a coastal storm coming up the coast. We are waking up to a wet morning, feeling the impacts of that system that is hitting the East Coast right now. We have live team coverage this morning. Action News reporter Becca Hendrickson is live in North Wildwood, New Jersey, where that storm is expected to hit the hardest. But first, let's go over to meteorologist Chris Sowers with more on that AccuWeather alert. Chris, I felt like I was learning something over the commercial break because you were saying that this jet stream is causing this to be a more prolonged weather event.
Exactly. You know, when we first started looking at this earlier in the week, it was just a compact system right here down at the south, just east of Jacksonville over the open waters of the Atlantic. It was in the development stages. But the problem is the jet stream then got involved, right? And the jet is kind of moving like this. See how it's kind of puncturing, lifting everything to the north. So now we actually have two pieces here. We have the rain, the main shield, which is broke away from the center of the storm. And what's happening is, as Christy mentioned, now you have a super elongated system. So instead of it being in and out within a day, now it's going to take multiple days to get this thing out of here. Here's a look at the radar. And what's going to happen here today, remember, these are tropical feeder bands that were originally around the center of the storm. So everything's going to be lifting like this during the course of the afternoon. So if you're on your weather app later today, you want to look down here to the southeast because, again, that's the way the direction of this is all moving. There's a look at Ophelia as it starts to come on shore now, just southwest of Moorhead in North Carolina. And notice how the tropical storm warnings, all right, they stop right here around Ocean City. The storm's going to be coming inland like this, and the reason why they stop is because once the system moves over land, all right, it loses its fuel source, which is the warm water. Now, with that being said, we're still going to see this persistent onshore flow. So the beaches, the Delaware beaches here, as well as the Jersey Shore, are going to take a pounding. We could see moderate coastal flooding from Cape May all the way up to Seaside Heights. And then right here, you're going to pile that water on around Bowers Beach and Lewis and Rehoboth Beach right there on the Delaware Bay. So periods of rain, some of it heavy today, ponding on roads, traveling is going to be slow. This is what I'm most concerned about here, the strong winds and the power outages, as well as the coastal flooding. There's going to be some road closures later this afternoon, and also you want to watch where you park your car because that water is going to come in so quickly you're not going to have too much time. So those are some of the impacts that we're concerned about. I'll be back in a few minutes. We'll talk about the timing when we can finally push this thing out of here, and I'll show you some cooler temperatures in the AccuWeather 7-day forecast. Christy?
All right, Chris, thank you. And as Chris just showed us, the Jersey Shore and Delaware beaches are expected to get hit the hardest by this storm. A high surf advisory just went into effect at 6 a.m. and flooding could impact those who are headed down the shore for weekend events. That's where we find now Action News reporter Becca Hendrickson, who is live in Wildwood, New Jersey. Becca, at last check, you were using a bench right there behind you to stay stable and upright.
Christy, this bench is my new best friend. It is still keeping me stable and upright. Every time I think that we're about to have a break in some of the winds, we get a huge gust coming, and I feel like I'm about to be knocked over, but I have my bench, and that's what matters. Getting a taste of the ocean right now as some of those gusts whip us in the face. Christy, we are half an hour from low tide, and this is how the water looks here in North Wildwood. That surf, absolutely vicious. Some of it coming all the way up against the wall and smacking that wall. But for now, I've been talking to a lot of chiefs, some OEM coordinators down here at the shore, and it's just wind and rain for now. That wind and rain, of course, is very strong, making it difficult to drive, and it's really just like pushing that water so quickly down the road. You can see the wind push that water that's starting to pond on some of the roadways. I was driving on Central Ave a couple blocks inland a little earlier, and I was seeing some flooding on that road already. I do know from checking around the Jersey Shore that as you come into Wildwood over the bridge on 147, officials have one lane closed because of flooding on that roadway already. And of course, you can see, you can feel, you can hear that wind. I can tell you that the rain is pelting my face. I'm trying to keep my back to the wind at points to protect my face. The surf, take a look at some of this video. It's just absolutely vicious. A lot of people, though, down here in North Wildwood for the weekend, they came for the Irish Festival. A lot of it had to be moved inside. Not ideal weather. People who were hoping to go to the beach on Irish weekend, but they're still going to make the most of it. When's the last time you had weather like this during it?
I've never had weather like this. This is why I'm out right now to experience it.
What are you seeing? What are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty wind blown and wet, and but it's exciting.
Why do you say that?
Well, seeing the rough force of nature, as they say.
Yeah, just wind and rain at this point. The impacts aren't that horrible.
Exactly.
How is it affecting your plans for the festival?
Well, I guess we won't be going to the festival today, but we'll find out. We Irish, we're a strong breed. We might surprise everybody and have it go on anyway.
Not even Ophelia can cancel Irish weekend down here at the Jersey Shore, but it is causing some problems. Atlantic City Electric reporting about 70 outages down here so far. That number could, of course, increase with some of this weather that we're having. I'm back on my bench now with the wind gusts. We're going to be keeping an eye down here at the Jersey Shore all morning long. For now, live here in North Wildwood, Becca Hendrickson, Channel 6 Action News. Christy?
Yeah, Becca, it's remarkable as we see it getting brighter now, just how quickly that water is rising, and like you mentioned, it's not even high tide. Now, please use that bench, and you and photographer Ian Doherty stay safe. We'll check in with you in a little bit. Meanwhile, the city of Philadelphia has prepared for heavy rain that is falling now. Nearly 24 crews worked on clearing clogged drains throughout the city. PennDOT is also taking steps to keep drivers safe during the storm. The agency says it will be on alert and prepared with extra staffing and equipment. And be sure to download the 6ABC app to get the updated AccuWeather forecast even when we're not on the air. Our team of meteorologists will be tracking the storm's path and the timing, and also how it could impact your neighborhood. And for those of us who may not be brave enough to brave these outdoor elements, it also might be a good day to, I don't know, clean out your closet, do some fall cleaning, bake some cookies, watch some football.
See, now you're speaking my language with the cookies. Sarah and I were talking earlier in the week. She said she was cleaning out her closet today.
Okay.
I'm probably going to paint a wall. I've got a closet wall that I need to paint.
Is
so maybe
Lori putting you to work?
She's going to put me to work.
Okay. Good for her.
But the bottom line is, right, try to find something indoors today. It's on and off periods of rain, and it's windy. Now, I'm not saying that, you can't travel anywhere, but just keep this in mind. Remember, this is tropical, so you're going to get these heavy bands pushing throughout the day. So sometimes during the course of the day, maybe the rain's coming down really, really light. Other times it's coming down like a sack of wrenches, and you don't want to be traveling at a high rate of speed when that happens, because the visibility drops. You get a lot of water on the roads. You don't want to hydroplane. All right, so there's that danger. And then as you get closer to the Jersey Shore, you got to remember a lot of the trees still have the leaves on them. So with the wind really blowing as furiously as it will be down there, maybe you get some trees falling over and things like that. There's that danger, as well as the coastal flooding. So I would expect some delays down there, as well as power outages, and that's from Cape May all the way up to Seaside Heights and then into Monmouth County. Now, the wind is blowing out of the northeast at 20 to 35 miles per hour. It's not that bad at the moment, but those gusts are really going to ramp up later this afternoon. We could see winds up to 60 miles per hour along the ocean front. All right, Storm Tracker 6 Live showing this is the first of several of these bands that'll be sweeping through. See all the yellows here? That's where we're picking up rainfall rates at least a ½ inch to 3/4 of an inch an hour. Okay, that's a pretty good rain falling. Notice how things ease a little bit. But again, as we go a little bit wider, you will start to see another feeder band coming into view. And again, that's just the kind of day this is going to be. So Becca's right down there in Wildwood. It looks like things are going to ease up where she is, at least over the next hour or so. But again, there's another band just offshore. This heavy rain lifting off to the northwest and should be into the Lehigh Valley within the next, let's say, 45 minutes or an hour. Okay, here's the bigger picture. We were talking about this earlier in the broadcast. It's kind of a super elongated system now. And because of that, it's going to take multiple days for this to get out of here. So we pick up the heavy rain on the front end today, and then the center itself comes through as we get into Sunday afternoon. Let's zoom right into that. So Morehead City's right here. It came on shore about maybe 15, 20 miles to the southwest, and now it's pushing inland. Now that it's lost its fuel source, those warm waters, okay, it's going to start to weaken. So as it gets closer to the Philadelphia area, actually the winds will lessen, and the rainfall is not going to be quite as bad. The worst of it's going to be today, believe it or not, and then tomorrow as the center itself pushes through, things actually get a little bit better. All right, I'm going to run this thing through, but I'm not going to put any pauses on it because, again, it's just going to rain on and off all day today, all day tomorrow, into Monday morning. Hopefully by afternoon we can kick it off the coast and we at least see conditions improve a little bit. Tuesday is probably going to be the day, though, when it really starts to pull away. 1 to 3 inches in this area shaded in green, 2 to 4 for areas south and east. Winds 30 to 40 miles per hour for western counties, 50 to 60 miles per hour right there on the Jersey Shore. And again, it's that constant pounding. Look at the wave heights, 15 to 20 feet with that wind coming in off the ocean. it refuses to ease, which means the water is going to have a very difficult time receding once tide comes in around 2:30 this afternoon. So the exclusive AccuWeather 7-day forecast, we're just going to call it a tropical rainstorm today. On and off periods of rain. That wind's going to be gusty. Remember, some of that rain could be very heavy at times. 64 today, occasional rain tomorrow, more leftover showers Monday. And even though we do have mostly cloudy for Tuesday, that is going to be a better looking day. And then from that point on, it looks okay. Just not a great weekend, quite honestly.
I mean, silver lining, maybe we'll get some bright fall colors.
Hopefully, that would be nice.
All right, Chris, thank you. Good morning. It is Saturday, September 23rd. I'm Christy Aletto. The big story this morning on Action News is Tropical Storm Ophelia. That system drenching the Delaware Valley and also bringing heavy winds as it hits the coast. We are bringing you live team coverage this morning. Action News reporter Becca Hendrickson is at the Jersey Shore, which is bearing the brunt of this system. But first, let's get over to meteorologist Chris Sowers with this morning's AccuWeather alert. Chris.
All right. Good morning to you, Christy. And here's a look at the stats. Ophelia made landfall around 6:15 this morning around Emerald Isle, which is roughly 12 miles southwest of Morehead City. It had maximum sustained winds of 70 miles per hour. You need 74 or higher to be classified a hurricane. So it was pretty close. It was a very strong tropical storm. All right, these are the outer edges as we flip it over to Storm Tracker 6 Live, or what we call feeder bands pushing through. All right, we've got a couple of them here. The first one's already through the city. That one actually produced a couple of ground stoppages at Philadelphia International, and it is producing about 3/4 of an inch to an inch of rain. And then you have this one here. That's going to start working its way onshore as well. Let's go a little bit wider. And again, you can see the heavy rains on the front end, and notice the direction. Everything, and this is what you're going to notice throughout the day, okay? Everything's going to move like this. All right, the rain's going to push onshore. Then we get into tomorrow, and everything moves in from the opposite direction. The weather's going to be pushing in that way. Remember the counterclockwise spin around these systems. There's a quick look at it there. You can see it's making its way onshore, passing by the outer banks there of North Carolina. Another thing that you're going to have to remember, the onshore flow, the push of water, okay? That's just going to continue to pound away here at the Jersey Shore. Also the Delaware Bay, the Delaware side of the Delaware Bay could see moderate flooding this afternoon, as well as the ocean front. And when we say moderate, we're looking at probably tides ranging anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5 feet above what's considered normal. So periods of rain this afternoon, some of it heavy. Yes, there could be some ponding on roads and flooding in poor drainage areas, but a lot of the rain is going to be spread out over 2 days. I'm more concerned, or I should say most concerned, about these bottom two here. Strong winds at the shore, possible power outages, and coastal flooding this afternoon. There's likely going to be some road closures. And with that being said, I want to bring in Becca Hendrickson. She's been reporting live from Wildwood all morning. And you know, Becca, we were talking about this earlier this morning with how high the water looks behind you. We're technically at low tide. Imagine what it's going to look like about 6 hours from now when we get to high tide.
You're right, Chris. The tide was about 2 feet higher than normal at low tide. That means high tide is going to be a problem down here. OEM is expecting some flooding on roadways, especially Bayside. And here on the beach side, the beach is just getting absolutely rocked by this storm. Still low tide, like you were saying. And take a look at how high these waves are. They're already crashing against the wall. That means in about 6 hours, some of this water will likely be coming over the seawall onto JFK. And this wind, I'm telling you, is no joke. It's absolutely whipping. It's pelting my face. I just lost my hat to the wind. It's a pretty pretty terrible day out here to be outside. As waves crash into the seawall at low tide in North Wildwood, tourists braced for impact, knowing this water will only rise.
This is low tide, and it's 2 p.m. It'll be high tide, and I can imagine that all the street behind me is going to be underwater. The
fire department says it's expecting flooding near the bay. Meanwhile, the beach is getting rocked by violent surf.
Look, here's smashing in right now. Look at this. I'm staying at a hotel where it's the highest, pretty much the highest ground on the island.
As wind whips along JFK, sending rain running down the road, businesses like Aloha Coffee Shop are still open.
We were waiting a whole summer for this weekend. And look what happened.
It's Irish Weekend in North Wildwood, a festival that usually fills the island with tourists. Some of those activities are being moved inside because of the storm. Those who brave the weather still plan on making the best of it.
We Irish, we're a strong breed. We might surprise everybody and have it go on anyway.
Probably a lot of drinking, but you know, we'll see where the day takes us. If it clears up a little bit, maybe we'll go out.
They may be out of luck this weekend. Let's talk about some of that flooding. I can tell you that on 147 that's coming into the island as you're coming onto New Jersey Avenue. Crews do have a lane blocked up already because of some water on the roadway. We were seeing it this morning when we were driving around too. I can also tell you, as far as power is concerned, with these high winds, some of those extra crews that were on schedule for this weekend because of the festival are being diverted to respond to some of the problems caused by the wind. I checked with Atlantic City Electric here in Wildwood, about 100 customers or so far who don't have power. Live here in North Wildwood, Becca Hendrickson, Channel 6 Action News. Christy?
Yeah, high tide less than 5 hours away. Many people now bracing for the worst as far as flooding. Becca, thank you. Now be sure to download the 6ABC app to get the updated AccuWeather forecast even when we are not on the air. Our team of meteorologists will be tracking the storm's path and timing, as well as how it could impact your immediate neighborhood. Now let's circle back to meteorologist Chris Sowers for more on today's AccuWeather alert that we are experiencing and what people should know about, regardless of where they are in the region, about this storm.
Yeah, it's going to be a very miserable weekend. Good morning again, Christy here. And this time, let's focus in on the wind gusts. Here's a look at some of the peak wind gusts with some of the outer edges, the outer feeder bands that have already come through. Lewis, tropical storm force winds, 64. Sea Isle City, 62. Brigantine was in the 50s. Notice Philadelphia was only about 39 miles per hour. And here's a look at the current numbers. 40 miles per hour in Atlantic City, 37 in Wildwood, and 33 miles per hour in Philadelphia. The winds continue. They're going to howl all afternoon long. My concern is the direction, though. Again, this is an onshore push. So as the tide comes in around 2:30 this afternoon, not only the ocean front, but the Delaware side of the Delaware Bay, both areas are really going to take on a lot of water later this afternoon. Call from AccuWeather for today. Oh, it's a miserable one, Christy. Going to give you plenty of opportunity to work on your baking skills, though. We're seeing lots of clouds. It's windy, on and off periods of rain and showers. Christy?
I don't know. I don't know if anybody wants me baking at home. Okay, Chris, thank you. All right, we are taking a live look now from Sky 6, getting a view of those rough waves in Atlantic City. Ooh, that sea looks angry. The Jersey Shore really seeing some of the worst conditions from Tropical Storm Ophelia. We will check in with meteorologist Chris Sowers on today's AccuWeather alert in just a few moments. Now let's circle back with Chris Sowers because there is an AccuWeather alert in effect.
Yeah.
What should we expect for those of us who are inland while the Jersey Shore is going to be bearing the brunt of this storm?
Right, and that's the thing. There's going to be quite a difference here, inland locations versus what the Jersey Shore ends up seeing here. And I don't want to make it sound like Armageddon because for many of you, it's probably just going to be a very rainy, windy day. But there are some dangers here. You have to remember this is tropical in nature. So a lot of the feeder bands that are going to be pushing through, you're going to get some really heavy rain with that. So you don't want to be traveling at a high speed on the roads and then all of a sudden encounter one of these bands where the visibility goes down almost nothing. All right, you don't want to hydroplane. There's going to be a lot of water on the roads, right? So there's a danger there. And then as you get closer to the Jersey Shore, a lot of the leaves are still on the trees, okay? And the wind, almost like a canopy, will, it catches the leaves and boom, the trees go over. So there's danger there. And also the coastal flooding, okay? That could be 1 to 3 feet above what's considered normal. So we have issues. There could be some delays and there's likely going to be some power outages down at the Jersey Shore as well. But I would say about 85% of the issues that we're going to deal with today are going to be down at the Jersey Shore and right there along the Delaware Bay. Again, for everybody else, it's just a miserable, rainy, windy day. All right, in terms of the winds, wind speeds, 26 miles per hour in Pottstown, about 33 miles per hour in Philadelphia, and then it's elevated a little bit, but even the Jersey Shore, the winds aren't terrible at the moment. A lot of the strongest winds are going to be within the feeder bands, all right, as they push through. There was the first one. That produced the 64-mile-an-hour wind gust earlier this morning in Lewis. There's another band right here that's starting to come on shore, just north of where Becca is in North Wildwood. So let's say from Avalon and Stone Harbor north. You're going to see some pretty good wind here shortly and a heavy burst of rain. Let's zoom in. There it is. Again, right there along the Garden State Parkway, probably from Wildwood north is where you start to pick this next one up, and this is going to come just like that. All day today, we're looking at the weather kind of moving from east to west across the viewing area. 90% of the time, it moves from west to east, so it's a little opposite to what we typically see. The center of low pressure is actually down here. Ophelia came on shore around 6:15 this morning, just southwest of Morehead City. Right around there. And you can see how far inland it's pushed already within the span of a couple hours. Now, it's moving along pretty good at the moment. It will slow down, unfortunately, and that means this is going to be a long dragged out event. Okay, it's going to take more than just one day to get this thing out of here. Now, I'm going to show you Futurecast, but honestly, I'm not going to put any pauses in it, really, because it's the same thing over and over and over again. Periods of rain pushing through, and maybe you get a half hour, 45 minutes worth of dry time this afternoon. Maybe it's a little longer tomorrow afternoon, but today and tomorrow, very similar days. It's on and off periods of rain pretty much all day, and you get the gusty winds. Now, we're going to stop it at 3:30 in the morning here, Monday morning, and we're still looking at some leftover clouds and some patchy drizzle and a few showers. Now, on a positive, this is a lot of rain, but this is a grand total today, tomorrow, and Monday morning, so it's spread out. So I don't think there's going to be too many issues with flooding inland. The Jersey Shore, though, is you're going to deal with the coastal flooding, 1 to 3 and 2 to 4. Here's a look at the wind gusts, 30 to 40 miles per hour. Okay, far western counties, 50 to 60 down at the Jersey Shore. That's where we're going to see the biggest issues here. So what to expect more specifically for the shore? Remember, we're under that AccuWeather alert. 50 to 60 mile an hour gusts. You're going to see some power outages and probably some trees down. Significant beach erosion down here. Tides are going to run 1 to 3 feet above normal. High tide is right around 2:30 this afternoon. Many of those roads are probably going to be flooded and closed. Okay. The exclusive AccuWeather 7-day forecast. So AccuWeather alert today, we're just going to call it a tropical rainstorm. Tomorrow, honestly, isn't too much better. It's a little better, but not much. It's still a rainy, windy, miserable day. Let's go 67 there. Monday morning is wet, hopefully some clearing by afternoon. And then from that point on, it looks great. But the next 3 days, and the timing's lousy, right? Because it's everybody's weekend. But, oh well.
You know, that was kind of the trend earlier this year, was always that Saturday that Mother Nature was bringing down the rain.
So the saying is, what, 1 out of 2 ain't bad or something like that? Well, what's 2 out of 2 then? We're just out of luck.
All right.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Time now 9:24. Let's start you out this time around with the watches and warnings. And notice how we shut them off right around Ocean City, Maryland. The storm has come on shore just southwest of Morehead City in North Carolina, and now it will be traveling overland. Remember, these storms need that warm water. They use it as fuel. So now that it's over land, the storm should start weakening, and we shouldn't have to worry about tropical storm force winds as we progress along into later this afternoon, overnight tonight, and through the day tomorrow. Now, that cone only represents where the center of circulation will be traveling. Okay, so the reason why I point that out is because notice how this thing is going to make this right-hand turn. That does not mean areas north and west will not see big impacts from this system. You can see the very latest here. The winds are at 65 miles per hour. It will continue to weaken over the next 24 hours. So wet most of the time this weekend. Inland flooding not expected. Remember, the big rainfall totals, that stretched out over 2.5 days. Flooded roads at the Jersey Shore, not as windy tomorrow. Again, on a scale of 1 to 10, Christie, today is a 1, tomorrow's a 3. You add them up combined, it's still not good.
Yeah.
Hopefully it gets better next week.
Let's hope. All right, Chris, thank you. But first, we are under an AccuWeather alert. Let's head over now to meteorologist Chris Sowers with the AccuWeather forecast. We've been talking about this all morning. The shore getting hammered inland. Yeah. We could see some off and on rain throughout the rest of this weekend. Yeah,
it's not a great looking day, right? Around the Delaware and the Lehigh Valleys. Now, the interesting thing here with the rainfall totals, we're projecting 1 to 3 I-95 corridor areas north and west, and then 2 to 4 isolated heavier amounts for the Jersey Shore and portions of interior South Jersey. This was with one band. Okay, one band came through and already dropped almost 2 inches in Wildwood. We have at least 2 more of these bands to go, maybe more, as the center of Ophelia is still all the way down across the Carolinas. Upper Deerfield, that's in Cumberland County, I believe, 1.15. Newark, Delaware, 1.4. Philadelphia, almost 0.8 of an inch. And Allentown, about 1/4 of an inch of rain already. There was a look at the band right there. That's what came through earlier this morning and just dumped a ton of water down there at the Jersey Shore. Here comes band number 2. That one, too, will be lifting to the northwest. And again, in time, we'll just see more of these continue to work their way north and west on shore. Remember, the circulation is kind of like this. All right? It's counterclockwise. So everything, because the low is out here, everything is coming in off the water today. And look at all this out here. So your Saturday is pretty much what you see out your window right now all day. Periods of rain. Now, the jet stream got involved, okay? And the jet stream kind of went like this, and what it did was it took this huge swath of water and pushed it away from the center. So now we have 2 pieces, and the significance there is instead of this in and out in a day, now we get the first batch coming through today, the second batch coming through tomorrow. So it's sort of extending the misery, if you will. Call from AccuWeather this weekend at the Jersey Shore, 2 to 4 inches, winds gusting 50 to 60, power outages and uprooted trees are possible, or at least some topple trees. And then for the I-95 metro area, rainfall 1 to 3, gusting 35 to 45, and a lot of ponding expected on the roads. Also watch the wet leaves. That could make things a little slick as well. Christy?
All right, Chris, thank you. And as Chris also mentioned, the Jersey Shore and Delaware beaches are expected to get hit the hardest by this system. Flooding is one of the major concerns for those areas. Action News reporter Becca Hendrickson is live in North Wildwood, New Jersey. She has been bringing us live reports all morning long. At one point was using a bench to stand upright because of the wind, and has also been showing us just how quickly the water is rising, and we're not even in high tide. What are you seeing at this hour?
Oh, well, Christy, first of all, I'm back to using my bench. We've been out here since about 5 a.m. and I can tell you this is the worst that the wind and the rain combination has been. Still, it's not to turn people from coming out here to North Wildwood. I want to step out of the way to show you what's going on behind me. Out in the distance, you can see a runner. I recognized him. He's one of the lifeguards down here. Don't recommend running on the beach today. You can see the water starting to come in. I know that the tide, per the Office of Emergency Management, is about 2 feet higher than it's supposed to be, and that was at low tide. So we're starting to see it come in for the last couple of hours, and it's crashing against these walks. We've seen it at points already hit the wall. That means in about 5 hours or so, when we get to high tide, there is a chance it's going to get over this seawall and onto JFK. Despite all this going on, you can see out here on JFK, it is Irish weekend, and a 5K continues on the roads. Police tell me about 50 people chose to run this 5K despite these heavy winds that are close to knocking me over and this rain, which is just brutal. Take a look at some of our video of the surf. It's been getting more and more dangerous all morning long as the tide is coming in. OEM is very concerned as the tide comes in about the chances of flooding, especially on the bay side of the island. So that's Delaware Avenue, possibly coming over to New Jersey Avenue as well. I can tell you that there were already some issues this morning with flooding on 147 as you come over the bridge into the island. There was a lane closure because of that. Something, of course, that officials are closely monitoring. But again, it's Irish weekend down in North Wildwood, a weekend that attracts throngs of tourists to the Jersey Shore. And those people are still out here trying to make the best of it. When's the last time you had weather like this during it?
I've never had weather like this. This is why I'm out right now, to experience it.
What are you seeing? What are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty wind blown and wet, and but it's exciting.
Why do you say that?
Well, seeing the raw force of nature, as they say.
Yeah, just wind and rain at this point. The impacts aren't that horrible.
Exactly.
How is it affecting your plans for the festival?
Well, I guess we won't be going to the festival today, but we'll find out. We Irish, we're a strong breed. We might surprise everybody and have it go on anyway.
Then here comes another 5K runner braving the storm into the wind. Impacts weren't as bad this morning. Of course, as it goes on, they do seem to be getting worse with some of that flooding that's anticipated, some of the flooding that's already happening. And we're starting to see some power outages as well. Atlantic City Electric, on their outage map, it shows about 100 outages so far here in North Wildwood. I also know that a lot of the extra crews that had been on for this weekend with the fire department and other departments that were here for the festival are being diverted to response to this storm that's damaged from the wind. That's some of the flooding that we're going to start seeing. Not a great weekend to stay outside here in North Wildwood. If you're down here for the festival, maybe choose indoor activities. Live here in North Wildwood, Becca Hendrickson, Channel 6 Action News. Christy?
Yeah, Becca, and I hope that you'll at some point be able to get indoors yourself. Thank you. Well, be sure to download the 6ABC app to get the updated AccuWeather forecast even when we are not on the air. Our team of meteorologists will be tracking the storm's path and timing, as well as the impacts to your neighborhood. Now let's circle back with meteorologist Chris Sowers because we are under an AccuWeather alert. Chris, what can we expect for the rest of this weekend?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, we've been talking about this all morning. This is going to be a very long duration event. So the entire weekend at this point looks kind of miserable. Rainy and windy today and probably put slash tomorrow on that too. Watch for street flooding. Remember, these are feeder bands pushing through, so you're going to get pockets of heavy rain. Maybe the rain eases at times, but you're going to see pockets of heavy stuff right throughout the duration of today, tomorrow, and then hopefully Monday morning things begin to calm down. Expect delays. Remember, Philadelphia International has already had a couple of ground stoppages because of these feeder bands. You may see a few more, and power outages likely, especially as we get closer to the Jersey Shore where those winds are really starting to ramp up. We've already seen gusts up to 60+ miles per hour down there. Rainfall chances, again, everything kind of centered around the weekend. 100% today, 80% tomorrow, and then things begin to calm down a little bit as we get into next week. Here's a look at the Jersey Shore. Let me step out real quick. Oh, my goodness. And remember, technically, we are at low tide. High tide in Atlantic City is around 2:21 this morning. Look how high the water is already, and look how angry those seas are. At least it's fairly mild down there. Remember, the ocean temperatures are close to 70, so we're pushing that somewhat warmer ocean air inland. It's 66 on the sand right now, gusting to 25 miles per hour at the moment in Pottstown, close to 30 in Philadelphia, and then near 40 for the Jersey Shore. And remember, those numbers go up as we start to encounter more of these feeder bands. All right, these out and through here. This was the first that came through earlier this morning. Here's the second one pushing through now. There's a third behind it. And remember, the center of the storm is still hundreds and hundreds of miles away down to the south across the Carolinas. So this pattern becomes very repetitive until the center of that low moves like this and pulls away. Then the winds will turn around on the backside and we start to dry out. But again, it's a long process. All right, here's the zoomed in view. That's interior South Jersey, state of Delaware. Here's the Jersey Shore. Again, more water for everybody. The wider view shows that front end thump of rain here. And then as you work your way farther to the south, here is the center of Ophelia, which is still holding on, by the way, to tropical storm force winds. They're currently at 65 miles per hour. Again, that'll be lifting north over the next couple of days. So rounds of heavy rain, pockets of it later today through the late afternoon and early evening hours. I've had a lot of folks ask me about the Phillies game today. I mean, I don't make the call, but I'd be stunned if they got the game in today or tomorrow for that matter. I mean, I guess I've seen stranger things happen, but I mean, the weather really does not look too cooperative for baseball around here. This is tomorrow morning, another pocket of rain, and then here comes the center right there of Ophelia. That'll be passing by during the afternoon. More pockets of heavy rain, and even as we get into Monday morning, it looks like it could actually linger, at least in the form of drizzle or a couple of leftover showers. So percentage-wise, all day, we're looking at, again, on and off periods of moderate to occasionally heavy rain. Here's a look at the coastal flood warning, 1 to 3 feet above what's considered normal. That's your high tide level today. All right, that's right around 2:30 this afternoon in Atlantic City, and about an hour or two later right there in the Back Bays. Bowers Beach, this area here could really take a pounding because remember, your water or your wind is going like this, so you're piling all the water up, whereas the Jersey side, of the Delaware Bay might not see much flooding at all out of this. All right, let's sum it all up for you. Call from AccuWeather for today. Periods of rain, some heavy. It's windy and cool otherwise with a high of just 63 degrees. We should be in the mid-70s. 61 overnight tonight. Periods of rain and windy. For tomorrow, 67. Periods of rain. We'll tone it down a little bit. We won't call it windy tomorrow. We'll just call it breezy. For the Jersey Shore, 50 to 60 mile an hour gusts. There could be some power outages out there. Significant beach erosion. Again, tides running 1 to 3 feet above normal. Many of the roads, as you get closer to the water, could actually be flooded and closed. The exclusive AccuWeather 7-day forecast. So the AccuWeather alert is in effect for today. We'll call it a tropical rainstorm. Cloudy, windy, or breezy, I should say, and damp. Tomorrow, 67. And then hopefully Monday, things start to improve by afternoon and we get out of this mess.
Good day for some tomato soup, or in your case, a sleeve of pizza.
I ate almost an entire box of Elio's yesterday.
My goodness.
I've got another box downstairs.
Ay, Dios mío. All right, Chris. Action News will be right back. All right, let's get that final check of the AccuWeather forecast.
Okay, Christine, here we go. Let's get to it. So tropical rainstorm today, rainy and windy. Some of that rain could be heavy, 63. Tomorrow, quite honestly, isn't too much better. Occasional rain and wind in 67.
All right, Chris, thank you. Up next is 6 ABC's Local Spotlight and then another hour of GMA. Action News continues later tonight with anchor Sarah Bloomquist in for Walter Perez. Now for Chris Sowers and the entire Action News team, I'm Christy Aletto. Make it a great Saturday.
Action News, Delaware Valley's leading news program. Meteorologists Brittany Boyer, Jamie Apodi, and Walter Perez.
From North Carolina to New Jersey, communities are dealing with flooding from heavy rain and damage from strong winds. Making landfall as the tropical storm Ophelia has since been downgraded to a tropical depression. But that damage is already done. Saturday night, Walter has the night off. I'm Sarah Bloomquist. And the big story on Action News is the persistent wet weather still pummeling parts of the region. Ophelia made landfall this morning in North Carolina with 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts. The slow-moving storm is making its way up the coast. Here at home, there have been reports of downed trees in the suburbs, flooded roads, and eroding beaches at the Jersey Shore. Ophelia is expected to drench the tri-state through at least Monday morning. Action News has team coverage of the dangerous conditions tonight. We have crews on the ground near the city and down at the shore. But let's get right over to meteorologist Brittany Boyer first with the update from AccuWeather. We're still in the thick of this.
Yes, we are still dealing with that rainfall. At the latest update from the National Hurricane Center, Tropical Depression Ophelia is located about 50 miles south of Richmond, Virginia. It's moving north at about 12 miles per hour, and it is expected to make more of a northeasterly shift as we go through Sunday. And yes, we've seen some of the heavy rainfall with this, some pretty significant rain in parts of New Jersey, and that is where we continue to have some of these feeder bands moving through. We even had a few rumbles of thunder not too long ago across parts of Burlington County. Rain has been one thing with Ophelia, but let's talk about the wind speeds today. Parts of New Jersey, winds gusting around 52 miles per hour in Cape May, 61 miles per hour in Tuckerton, and even into Lewis, Delaware, winds topping nearly 65 miles per hour. One of the big problems today has been coastal flooding. At this point, the coastal flood warning has been allowed to expire. The coastal flood advisory that was along the Delaware has expired as well, but we do have coastal flood advisories with about up to 1 foot of inundation of water for the areas highlighted in green here. That advisory continues until 9 o'clock tomorrow evening. The rest of this evening into tomorrow morning, notice temperatures kind of staying steady in the mid-60s, and yes, we have more rain to deal with as we take you into the tail end of the weekend. So tomorrow, wet conditions, gusty northeast winds, not as strong as today, but we'll still have those lingering showers through Monday, possibly even still a spotty shower around on Tuesday. The midweek is looking nicer and brighter around here. But temperatures, Sarah, really feeling like fall on this first full day of fall, and that continues into next week.
Yeah, it's pretty brisk out there. Brittany, thank you. Action News reporter Brianna Smith continues our team coverage tonight. She's in Ocean City. Brianna, lots of flooding and high winds throughout the day today, with even more to come.
Yes, Sarah, unfortunately, it is not over just yet. We've been in the area since 2 this afternoon, and we are still feeling that rain and wind. And the wind is so powerful, at one point, I seriously thought I was going to fall over. But the other problem is the flooding. I don't know how much you can see behind me, but Simpson Avenue is just covered with water, and it's an issue that many residents are facing along the coast. Massive waves crashed ashore Saturday afternoon in Atlantic City. Alongside it was heavy rain and nearly 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts that blew sand everywhere. But that didn't stop visitors from venturing on the boardwalk.
Not at all. Makes it kind of exciting, actually. We're here to get blown around, so it's pretty good.
It doesn't bother us at all. We like to do a lot of stuff outside anyway. The waves are pretty high. I mean, I'm impressed by it.
Residents nearby went outside, too, witnessing their street quickly go underwater like Vermont Avenue.
As long as it doesn't get in my garage. Sandy made it in my garage, destroyed everything. But I don't think this is going to get that high. Just a nuisance tide. Got to move your cars and stuck in the house.
We've had some water come up pretty high. Not as high as we were expecting, but it did cause a lot of problems.
Leading to traffic in many closed roads, including Fairmount and Texas Avenues. The bay overflowed, pushing water down several streets. Further along the coast in Ocean City, the storm left a similar stream on West Avenue.
It just comes up so fast you don't realize it. You could be walking down the street and then you come back 10 minutes later and the whole street is flooded. So it's a lot of water, and hopefully we don't get people having their cars stuck.
Well, heed the warning, if you don't need to go out, don't go out. But if you are going out, just plan ahead.
As the water starts to recede, residents hope the wind weakens too. Atlantic City Electric says at the height of the storm, more than 2,000 customers lost power. But residents say they're thankful this storm isn't worse.
We've had some bad storms here that have really done damage on a lot of the houses. But, you know, recently we've been lucky, and today's a day I think we're going to be lucky.
Atlantic City Electric says they expect there to be more power outages. They say crews are working around the clock to restore power safely and effectively. So far, they've restored service for more than 16,000 customers. In Ocean City, Brianna Smith for Action News at 10 on PHL 17. Sarah?
And more of this tomorrow. Thank you, Brianna. A man worked to get his stuck SUV off the beach here in Brigantine after high tide this afternoon. The action cam caught this video of the car on Jetty Beach. Police did check on the driver and left as the tide went out. One woman witnessed this man's efforts as he tried again and again to free his stuck SUV.
This guy is coming towards the beach, running with his wooden pieces for his, I guess, in the back for the wheels. He had rows, heavy stuff. Then he walked through the water to his Jeep.
Witnesses say the driver did not appear to have been injured in this ordeal. Beaches in Delaware had treacherous conditions today. This is what Rehoboth Beach looked like. High winds and ominous waves. Lifeguards walked the beach to make sure no one came close to the water. A few brave patrons made it out to the boardwalk to document those weather conditions. Here's a look at the power outages in our area tonight. PECO is reporting just over 1,900 customers without power. Delaware County has the highest right now. In New Jersey, Atlantic City Electric reports just under 1,600 outages. Residents in Cape May County are the most impacted. Delmarva Power is reporting about 870 customers without power tonight. The majority of those outages are listed in Newcastle County. And PSE&G lists the most outages at 2,100. Essex County residents account for the majority. All right, we still have Ophelia moving through. Downgraded now from tropical storm to tropical depression. My guess is that continues to happen, but we still deal with this rain and wind.
Absolutely. It is weakening, but we're still going to be dealing with the wet weather, the gusty winds, and thankfully the coastal flooding is not going to be as elevated as what we saw out there during high tide today. Sky 6 Live, our Brandywine cam, notice it's shaking a little bit. We're still dealing with those gusty winds, and we're still dealing with some rainfall. As we take you through the end of the weekend here and the next couple of days, you can see our greatest chance for precipitation will be tomorrow. We'll have on and off rain throughout the day. Still some lingering showers on Monday as the system kind of moves its way off the coast. And then by Tuesday, we could be dealing with a few spotty showers coming in from our west. And then we finally start to dry things out a little bit more and get the return of some sunshine. That'll be nice to see, right? Especially after today. Keep in mind, we're still going to be adding to these rainfall totals over the next 24 hours. This is just a sampling of a few different locations. We've picked up over an inch in Philadelphia, about an inch and a quarter in Valley Forge, Newark, Delaware, about 1.35 inches of rain there, but the highest totals have been across parts of New Jersey. Egg Harbor Township closing in on 3.5 inches, over 3.5 inches in Toms River, and Cape May, about 3.7 inches of rain being reported at the courthouse there, a little bit farther south toward Rio Grande. They're closing in on 4 inches of rain at this hour. So here we are looking at Storm Tracker 6 live radar. We have scattered showers here in Philadelphia, still some wet weather as you work your way out toward the coastal plain, but the center of circulation with Ophelia, again a tropical depression, is south of Richmond, Virginia. So as this continues to spin, you get that flow coming in off of the water. This is going to be bringing more moisture into the area and more steady rainfall. Temperatures today definitely on the cooler side. We haven't budged a whole lot. A lot of areas have stayed in the 50s today. It's 62 in Philadelphia, 66 in Ship Bottom, 63 degrees right now in Middletown. So for the rest of tonight, we'll have some rain around, windy conditions with that northeasterly wind. Temperatures just like today, they're not going to move a whole lot. Let's talk about timing as we head into the overnight hours and tomorrow. We'll get some breaks just like we did today, but as we go from the morning to, let's say, early afternoon hours, we'll likely have another round of the steady rain. This likely could be setting up more so north and west of the city. And then eventually we'll be watching this as it works its way to the north and east, still leaving a few showers around on Monday. But overall, it will be a drier day compared to what we have over the weekend. So looking at the forecast for tomorrow, the call from AccuWeather, windy with rain at times tomorrow. Temperatures a few degrees milder than today, but still very cool for this time of the year. Your forecast for the next 3 days, wet and windy tomorrow, lingering showers as we take you into Monday, and then Tuesday, a stray shower. Sarah, after that, we get some sun. We'll look at that in the extended forecast.
Okay, Brittany, thank you. Be sure to wake up with the Action News Morning Team. Get the morning's top news headlines and weather beginning at 6 a.m. only on 6 ABC and wherever you stream Action News. We will be right back. And now the details on the AccuWeather alert in place across the Delaware Valley. Now a tropical depression, Ophelia, made landfall this morning in North Carolina. The storm system is creating dangerous waves and leading to coastal flooding down at the Jersey Shore right now. The windy conditions swept the downpours sideways. The Action Cam captured red flag warnings in North Wildwood today. It just so happens to be Irish weekend there, with lots of tourists braving the conditions.
Look, here's smashing in right now. Look at this. I'm staying at a hotel where it's the highest, pretty much the highest ground on the island.
Now, many who came down for the festival said they just plan on making the best of it. As Ophelia works its way up the East Coast, many rivers and creeks are swelling. The Appomattox River near Hopewell, Virginia, overflowed into a marina. Several docks are underwater, with boaters leaving their vehicles behind. Residents in North Carolina captured a power line exploding on camera. Ophelia packed winds of up to 70 miles per hour when it made landfall this morning near Emerald Isle. The storm knocked out power to tens of thousands of homes and businesses along the Carolina coast. State of emergencies have been declared all the way to the Maryland-Delaware state line. The biggest threat is coastal flooding as Ophelia brings more rain tomorrow and then high tide kicks in. Reporter Rob Kirkpatrick has the latest.
Tropical Storm Ophelia roared ashore early Saturday morning in North Carolina with winds just shy of hurricane strength. The storm brought maximum sustained winds of 70 miles per hour as it made landfall in North Carolina. States of emergency were declared in Virginia, North Carolina, and Maryland as Ophelia moved north along the mid-Atlantic.
You've got several flood watches and even some flash flood warnings in Raleigh and then off towards the east. In these locations, they've already picked up about 2 to 3 inches of rain. Now you're going to get an additional 1 to 2 inches on top of that. So there is the continued concern for the flood threat going forward.
Storm surge of more than 3 feet battered North Carolina, closing some roadways. U.S. Coast Guard rescued 5 people, including 3 children, that were aboard a 38-foot catamaran in Cape Lookout, North Carolina. Oh, perfect. Ophelia's rain band stretched hundreds of miles from its center, and the storm is bringing heavy rain to a large swath of the mid-Atlantic, including Virginia, where concerns about storm surge have business owners concerned about flooding.
The river's going to swell. It's going to rain all night. So when it swells up, high tide, that's going to back up. So yeah, we'll probably get it to the door.
Along with heavy rain and wind, tens of thousands of people remain without power. This power line exploding in Atlantic Beach, North Carolina. Ophelia is expected to bring wind gusts of between 40 and 70 miles per hour throughout the day that could down trees and power lines. I'm Rob Kirkpatrick reporting.
Well, time for another check of the AccuWeather forecast. That AccuWeather alert still in effect as we look ahead to another day of dealing with what you're telling us are now the remnants of this tropical storm.
Yeah, it's now post-tropical, so we're going to be still dealing with some impacts for Sunday in the form of rainfall and gusty winds. It won't be as windy as today, but still some strong gusts will be felt down at the shore. You're looking live. Sky 6, our AtTheShore.com camera showing you the view from Ocean City. Kind of a ghost town tonight. You can see the wet boardwalk. A lot of people staying indoors tonight because it's just been a damp, raw, and chilly start to the weekend. And really, that's going to be the trend for the next couple of days, still dealing with damp conditions as the remnants of Ophelia continue to move out of the region, and our temperatures actually remaining on the cooler side for the next couple of days. Speaking of cool, I know it kind of got buried today. fall officially arrived at 2:50 this morning, and we only made it to 63 degrees today, which makes it the coolest day since May 4th. Temperatures today about 13 degrees below average, and just to put that into perspective, today's temperature is more typical of what we would have in late October. So today, a cool start to the weekend. Of course, we had a lot of clouds, rainfall, and those gusty winds from what was Tropical Storm Ophelia. You can see all of the rain reports, storm reports, also coastal flooding reports that have come in just within our area here of New Jersey, also Delaware. About 71 reports, 14 of them were coastal flooding reports. We had some heavy rain reports with over 3.5 inches in some areas, and then a number of reports of strong winds. And at this hour, we still have some gusty winds, mostly on the order of about 30 to 35 miles per hour. You can still see some of this moisture coming in with those remnants and still bringing us some heavier pockets of precipitation along the coastal plain. We likely could see an additional 1/2 inch of rain just tonight, and then even more rain as we take you into Sunday. Also taking you into Sunday, early in the morning, we still have gusts up to about 30 miles per hour or so. But as we go through the afternoon, those winds will start to weaken, and you can see by about dinner time tomorrow, the strongest winds really starting to move out of the area. So for tomorrow, the call from AccuWeather bringing us another cool and rainy day, 61 degrees in the Lehigh Valley, rain and wind here along the I-95 corridor. At the shore, temperatures a little bit milder, 73, but we still have some rain and gusty winds to deal with. Here's a look at Future Tracker. We take you into tomorrow morning. We will have some pockets of dry conditions, kind of like what we saw today at times. But then as we go into the afternoon, likely a heavier pocket of rain lifting its way to the north. And then eventually this will start to pull away again as the remnants of Ophelia continue to move offshore. So by the time we head into Monday, the remnant low is offshore. We still have a bit of a pressure gradient, so breezy conditions with winds coming in out of the north. Also a cool day as a lot of us head back to work and school on Monday. Your exclusive AccuWeather 7-day forecast, a wet end to the weekend. Still some lingering showers on Monday. I think the wettest period is first thing in the morning, and then just a spotty shower by Tuesday, but it really takes until Wednesday to get the return of some sunshine. 68 degrees. Still holding on to those cool temperatures on Thursday with some sun, 69. A few more clouds on Friday, and temperatures in the low 70s through the weekend. So hopefully this weekend with a lot of indoor activities, maybe people pulled out the hoodies, the sweaters.
Got it all together.
They're going to need them.
They're going to need them. Fall making quite an entrance this weekend. Brittany, thank you. The 6 ABC app has everything you need to know to keep track of the soggy weekend weather. You can view live interactive radar so you know exactly what is happening in your neighborhood. The remnants of Ophelia are still battering the East Coast with widespread flooding, heavy rain, and damaging wind tonight. And right now, more than 3,100 customers are without power in our region. It is Saturday night. I'm Sarah Bloomquist. Walter Perez has the night off. The big story on Action News here at 11 is Ophelia, now weakening in intensity after making landfall this morning as a powerful tropical storm. We have team coverage of the storm's impact. Action News reporter Brianna Smith is live in Ocean City. Katie Catro is in Yeadon, and meteorologist Brittany Boyer live right here in the Weather Center. Let's start with you, Brittany. The rain not letting up through the day tomorrow.
Yeah, we're not done with the rainfall just yet. We've had reports of some areas that have picked up over 3.5 inches of rain so far today. And yes, Ophelia is now post-tropical. It's located about 30 miles southwest of Richmond, Virginia, and you can see there is still some rain associated with this, still some gusty winds to deal with. And looking at the rainfall, pretty disorganized in nature as we look at Storm Tracker 6 live. This is a radar loop over the past hour, and you can see that we're still getting some showers moving into parts of the coastal plain, even north and west of Philadelphia. But let's talk about some of the winds today. This is likely why we do have some power outages out there. Multiple reports of winds gusting 50 to over 60 miles per hour at the shore. A lot of this happened first first thing this morning, which was the strongest periods of the winds. Then we had a lot of coastal flooding today. You're going to hear a little bit more about that. We still have coastal flood advisories until 9 o'clock Sunday evening. Notice the advisory was allowed to be expired along the Delaware, but we still have the threat of inundation of about 1 foot for locations at the Jersey Shore and also the beaches in Delaware. Taking you through the next 12 hours, notice that we are staying wet. Temperatures not moving a whole lot from where we are now. Heading into the end of the weekend, it's still wet and windy. Not quite as gusty on Sunday, but still a northeasterly wind. Lingering showers into Monday, and then eventually this pulls away, bringing us the return of some sunshine, cool temperatures. I'll have much more coming up in the extended forecast, Sarah.
Okay, Brittany, thank you. Residents of Ocean City are still feeling the effects of Ophelia tonight. Brittany is live there tonight with the latest. Brittany, how's it looking?
Well, Sarah, we've been in the area since 2 this afternoon, and we felt the strong wind and heavy rain that Brittany was just mentioning. But the good news is it's not as bad now. In fact, this road was once completely covered with water, and now the water is starting to recede. Massive waves crashed ashore Saturday afternoon in Atlantic City. Alongside it was heavy rain and nearly 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts that blew sand everywhere. But that didn't stop visitors from venturing on the boardwalk.
Not at all. Makes it kind of exciting, actually. We're here to get blown around.
Yeah,
That's pretty
it
good.
doesn't bother us at all. We like to do a lot of stuff outside anyway. The waves are pretty high. I mean, I'm impressed by it.
Residents nearby went outside too, witnessing their street quickly go underwater like Vermont Avenue.
As long as it doesn't get in my garage. Sandy made it in my garage, destroyed everything. But I don't think this is going to get that high. Just a nuisance tide. Got to move your cars and stuck in the house.
We've had some water come up pretty high. Not as high as we were expecting, but it did cause a lot of problems.
Leading to traffic in many closed roads, including Fairmount and Texas Avenues. The bay overflowed, pushing water down several streets. Further along the coast in Ocean City, the storm left a similar stream on West Avenue.
It just comes up so fast you don't realize it. You could be walking down the street and then you come back 10 minutes later and the whole street is flooded. So it's a lot of water, and hopefully we don't get people having their cars stuck.
Well, heed the warning, if you don't need to go out, don't go out. But if you are going out, just plan ahead.
As the water starts to recede, residents hope the wind weakens too. Atlantic City Electric says at the height of the storm, more than 2,000 customers lost power. But residents say they're thankful this storm isn't worse.
We've had some bad storms here that have really done damage on a lot of the houses. But, you know, recently we've been lucky, and today's the day I think we're going to be lucky.
Atlantic City Electric expects there to be more power outages, but they say crews are working around the clock to make sure that power is restored safely and effectively. And again, the good news is water is receding. In Ocean City, Brianna Smith, Channel 6 Action News. Sarah?
Okay, Brianna, thank you. A man worked to get his stuck SUV off the beach here in Brigantine after high tide this afternoon. The action cam caught this video of the car on Jetty Beach. Police did go to check the driver out and then left as tide went out. One woman witnessed his continued efforts as he tried to free that stuck SUV.
This guy is coming towards the beach, running with his wooden pieces for his, I guess, in the back for the wheels. He had roads, heavy stuff. Then he walked through the water to his Jeep.
Witnesses say the driver did not appear to be injured in this ordeal. Tonight, residents in Yeadon are returning to their homes after evacuations earlier today. A tree snapped and fell on a wire, which then caused a natural gas leak and explosions. Officials are now working to find out if weather caused this chain of events. Action News reporter Katie Catro is live at the Grace Court Apartments with more. Katie.
And Sarah, around 50 residents are back here at the apartments, but there are several other residents who are not in their homes tonight.
The Yeadon Fire Department received a call around 9:15 this morning for a tree down on West Providence Road. When crews arrived, they also discovered a significant gas leak.
A large tree came down onto the power line, that arcing. Somehow that did ignite natural gas line in the street. There is a rupture in the gas line.
Authorities say about 4 hours later, the gas found an ignition source. A twin house sustained significant damage in an explosion.
In the immediate area, there were 6 homes. 2 of those exploded. There's an assisted living facility very close in an apartment complex. The fumes also got into those buildings, so that caused a larger scale evacuation.
It took several hours for PECO to contain the gas leak. During that time, more than 100 people were evacuated, including people who live at the Grace Court apartments. Residents were taken to nearby Evans Elementary.
I was inside the building when the alarm went off. I was also inside the building when they turned the lights off. I can say that management has done its part in trying to keep the people calm, which is one of the hardest things to do with older people.
Crews have spent the day ensuring nearby homes are safe.
Gas is underground. It can travel along the pipes that feed your home. So gas did move from the broken main in the street into several homes. That's why evacuations took place. But one of them eventually found a source and exploded.
And the Red Cross is assisting people who are not in their homes tonight. Reporting live here in Yeadon, Katie Catro, Channel 6 Action News. Sarah.
Katie, thank you. Let's get another check on the AccuWeather forecast. It's been a wet, windy, kind of wild day, and it continues into our Sunday.
But it's going to get a little bit better in terms of the wind for tomorrow. Unfortunately, we're not quite shaking the rainfall just yet. Sky 6 Live looking toward Philadelphia International. You can see from time to time that the camera is still shaking a little bit. We still have that northeasterly wind. We still have some rain out there, and we still have some rain in the forecast over the next couple of days. Our best chance for rainfall comes tomorrow, and then things really start to taper off on Monday as the remnants of Ophelia continue to move offshore. Still a shower around on Tuesday, but then finally the return of some sunshine, and it will be nice to see the sun after this wet stretch. If we look at the 24-hour rainfall totals, I just updated this. We've picked up over an inch of rain in Philadelphia, about an inch and a quarter up toward the Valley Forge area, Newark, Delaware, 1.35. But really the highest rainfall totals have been across parts of New Jersey. Egg Harbor Township now over 3.5 inches, close to 4 inches as you get into Cape May. Also Toms River there. Keep in mind, we still have rain tonight and additional rain as we take you into Sunday. Storm Tracker 6 Alive radar showing that the rain that we're seeing right now is pretty disorganized in nature. We're tapping into plenty of moisture coming in off of the Atlantic as the remnants of Ophelia are still to our south. The latest update at 11 o'clock from the National Hurricane Center had the center of this system about 30 miles south-southwest of Richmond, Virginia, and this will continue to move north and then eventually shifting its way northeast, and then that's when we start to see this kind of pushing offshore. As we all know, it's been a chilly start to the weekend. Temperatures really haven't budged a whole lot today. A lot of you have stayed in the 50s, and that's where we are at this hour. 59 in Reading, 59 in Chalfont, 63 degrees. That's been our high today here in Philadelphia. And at the shore, temperatures also on the cool side in the 60s. So overnight tonight, we will have more periods of rain. It stays windy with that northeasterly wind, sustained 15 to 25 miles per hour. Just like today, we're going to have some occasional breaks in the rainfall as we go into Sunday. But then as this system takes that northeasterly shift, the heaviest pockets of rain into tomorrow afternoon will actually be north and west of the city. And then as we go into Monday morning, still some scattered showers, but eventually this will be working its way offshore. So the call from AccuWeather for tomorrow, it's wet at times and it's definitely still windy out there with that easterly wind. 67 tomorrow in Philadelphia. A couple of spots getting into the low 70s here in South Jersey, but overall a cool end to the weekend and also still windy as we round out the weekend here. Notice that our wind gusts do step down as we head into tomorrow night. Your exclusive AccuWeather 7-day forecast shows it is a wet end to the weekend. Still some lingering showers on Monday. I think our best chance for that will be first thing in the morning, and we'll keep a spotty shower around for Tuesday. Look at the temperatures though. A cool first week of fall. By Wednesday, the sunshine returns. I think we'll be happy to see that. 68 degrees. Still clouds and sun as we head into Thursday. A few more clouds, but dry on Friday, and right now the weekend looks like we'll get into the low 70s, which is still a lot better than this weekend.
Yeah, not so soggy.
No.
Either. Okay, Brittany, thank you. Now the details. Ophelia has weakened as it moves north. The storm made landfall in North Carolina, but its effects are being felt all along the East Coast. ABC's Ika Jachi takes a look at the damage Ophelia has caused.
Ophelia making landfall in Emerald Isle, North Carolina Saturday morning as a strong tropical storm with winds of 70 miles per hour.
This made landfall. You can see that area of circulation right over Emerald Isle in North Carolina with winds just shy of a Cat 1 hurricane there. So we're looking at the intensity path and what it does in the next couple of days. Notice how it could remain as a tropical storm as it drives just south of Richmond, Virginia Sunday morning.
Dangerous storm surge impacting North Carolina, Virginia, and Maryland. Swells from Ophelia triggering life-threatening surf and rip current conditions. The Coast Guard rescuing 5 people, including 3 children, from a catamaran off the coast of North Carolina during the storm. In Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina, strong winds and big waves slamming the coast. ABC's Victor Oquendo's there.
Here in Wrightsville Beach, strong winds kicking up that surf. The rain, it has just been relentless, and now some 8 million Americans are under tropical storm warning.
The storm bringing with it concerns over possible tornadoes. Ophelia knocking out power to tens of thousands of customers as of Saturday afternoon. The storm now headed to the northeast, from Philadelphia to New York to Boston. Rain is in the forecast through the weekend. In Wildwood, New Jersey, portions of the annual Irish Fall Festival have been moved indoors as Ophelia approaches.
We'll get back out here Sunday if we can. We're going to party hard.
But the Fall Festival in Margate has been canceled. Organizers saying putting up tents, stages, and inflatables are just too risky amid the severe weather. Ika Jachi, ABC News, Washington.
A woman and her baby are fortunately okay after a tree fell on their car in Haverford Township. The large tree fell across Drexel Avenue off of Township Line Road around 4 this afternoon. It hit a car with a mother and her 18-month-old inside. Luckily, they were not hurt.
It fell on top of the car. Very fortunately, the car was stuck in a crevice of the tree and nobody was seriously injured. The windshield was cracked and broken. She had some glass in her hair. But the baby in the back seat, the 18-month-old, was fine. She was in her car seat, nothing, no damage, no injury, other than just being shaken up.
Very fortunate. The owners of the home where the tree fell say it's about 130 years old. A North Carolina man is not letting widespread flooding stop him from getting around. Sean Hendricks says he was trying to get to work when he saw this kayaker paddling his way through the streets of the town of Winterville. Many neighborhoods in the area are submerged in the water. In New Bern, North Carolina, a family's backyard is completely overtaken by a river. Across North Carolina and Virginia, as many as 70,000 homes and businesses lost power due to Tropical Storm Ophelia. Storm surge, flooding of more than 3 feet hit coastal North Carolina. We saw some flooding here as Ophelia has been moving through, now downgraded a bit in the last few hours, but still sticking around a little bit.
Yeah, it's still here. We're still dealing with the remnants, and those remnants will be with us as we take you into the end of the weekend. And one of the locations where we've been most impacted has been down at the shore. We had a number of coastal flooding reports. This is Sky 6 Live, our AtTheShore.com camera down in Atlantic City. We've been looking at some of the Sky 6 cameras. Atlantic City, Ocean City, nobody is out on this Saturday evening, and rightfully so, because it's not exactly nice outside. And unfortunately, this trend kind of continues over the next couple of days. It stays damp and it also stays cool with our temperatures. Speaking of cool, today was the first day of fall, and boy, did it feel like it. 63 was the high temperature in Philadelphia, making it the coolest day since May 4th. And just to put it into perspective, we should be around 76 this time of the year, so 13 degrees below average with our high temperature. Temperatures today more typical of what we would have during late October. Of course, a lot of those cool temperatures because of Ophelia. And Ophelia brought a number of storm reports across our area, a lot of them across New Jersey, also down into Delaware. I mentioned earlier a lot of the reports associated with coastal flooding. We had problems in New Jersey, also down into the beaches of Delaware. About 14 coastal flood reports. You can see some of the wind damage reports, about 6 of them. We had winds topping 50 to 60 plus miles per hour today, and a number of those wind reports also gusting over 30 miles per hour hour around the I-95 corridor. Storm Tracker 6 live radar at this hour showing a lot of disorganization with our scattered showers. We'll continue to watch the showers overnight tonight. We're going to continue to stay windy overnight tonight. You'll notice first thing tomorrow morning, 7:30, winds still gusting to around 30 miles per hour. But as we go into the afternoon, those winds start to ease as the remnants of Ophelia start to shift more offshore. So the call from AccuWeather for tomorrow bringing us another unsettled day, cool and rainy, 61 degrees in the Lehigh Valley. Looks like the more significant rainfall tomorrow shifts north and west of the city, especially into the afternoon. Rain at times here in Philadelphia, a little bit milder at the shore, and that's because our wind flow is going to be coming more so out of the south. Here's how timing looks with Future Tracker. Now, just like today, we'll get some breaks in the rain where maybe it's just a little bit of drizzle and low clouds. But then as this system continues to shift its way north and east, here you can see some of the steadier precipitation northwest of Philadelphia. All of this kind of winds down as we take you into your Monday, but notice we still have a lot of clouds out there on Monday. So here's a look at the setup for Monday. The remnants of Ophelia now offshore. We still have a bit of a pressure gradient as high pressure starts to build in from the north. So winds sustain 10 to 20 miles per hour, 66 degrees with lingering showers, and those temperatures, we might even have to take them down a little bit more as this cool pattern continues here. Your exclusive AccuWeather 7-day forecast, rain at times, still windy tomorrow with winds relaxing into the afternoon. Monday, lingering showers. I think the best chance for them will be first thing in the morning, just a spotty shower on Tuesday, and then we can all smile on Wednesday. It's finally turning brighter around here, 68, holding on to the 60s for Thursday. And then by the weekend, I mean, a true fall feel for the first week of fall.
People want their pumpkin spice.
They asked for it.
They asked for it. They got the season for it now.
Yeah.
Brittany, thanks.